Hello, everyone. Welcome to Interlagos, a circuit located in the heart of the city of São Paulo, and home track for Porsche Cup Brasil. And we are ready for the first round of the 2023 Porsche Cup C6 Bank Mastercard Endurance Series Championship, the 300 kilometers of Interlagos. In yesterday's qualifying session, Marçal Miller and Enzo Elias in the Porsche number 544 set up the best combined time, earning their first pole position together. We must not forget that last year they were adversaries in the Sprint Championship, with Enzo getting the crown and Marçal the runner-up position. Werner Neugebauer and Ricardo Zonta will start alongside them in a field of 36 cars and 72 drivers. Well, as we say, let's get to business. My name is Sergio Lago and I'm here with Carlos Costa. Hello, Carlos.
Hello, Sergio. Very big pleasure to be here with you to broadcast this first round of the Endurance Series Championship that we have in Porsche Cup Brazil. The venue is very well known worldwide, as you can see through this aerial view of Interlagos, Autódromo José Carlos Patti, as we call in Brazil as well. One of the most traditional circuits that we have in our country, and the one that is most connected with this series. Interlagos is completing 83 years this weekend, by the way, and Porsche Brazil now is completing 18 years. And of course running at Interlagos since the very beginning of its championship. Actually, the very first race held was at Interlagos in 2005, so a shared history between the series and the track, and of course the expectation for the round itself. It is obviously quite good. As you said, 300 kilometers race, maximum of 2 hours and 30 minutes of racing this Saturday. Of course, it all depends on safety cars, raining, and that kind of stuff, but the weather forecast says that we won't have rain. At least the chances are very low. But anyway, a very nice grid, as you said, pole position with Marçal Miller and Enzo Elias, former rivals, now racing side by side in the Endurance Championship, as we see a video
do bairro
promoting
desde
the
que o
race.
autódromo foi inaugurado, no dia 12 de maio de 1940. O circuito deu ao automobilismo brasileiro um lugar para se desenvolver e ajudou a lapidar talentos de renome internacional. Criou a estrutura perfeita para mais corridas e novas categorias. A história da Porsche Cup Brasil, por exemplo, está totalmente ligada ao Autódromo de Interlagos. Foi aqui que a categoria realizou sua primeira corrida. Em abril de 2005, 11 carros largaram para a prova inaugural do primeiro campeonato da Porsche nas Américas.
Interlagos eu acho que é importante, muito importante para a Porsche Cup. Primeiro a primeira largada, né? Então subi ali naquela torrezinha ali e vi a primeira largada da Porsche Cup. Você imagina a emoção, parecia que era algo mais grandioso naquele momento, ou tão grandioso quanto hoje, 70 e poucos carros. Interlagos é responsável por muito desse sucesso, porque é aqui que tudo começou, é aqui que boa parte se desenvolveu, foi bastante trabalho, não só meu, mas dessa equipe maravilhosa que faz isso acontecer. Então é muito importante a gente poder ter esse, eu diria, templo aqui, para a gente poder desenvolver o nosso trabalho, né? Então, dizer que o Autódromo de Interlagos é um objeto de desejo de qualquer piloto, tenho certeza, qualquer piloto, qualquer equipe, ou às vezes até mesmo qualquer espectador que ama automobilismo. Interlagos é incrível pela sua totalidade. Ele é uma pista que você precisa ter um balanço muito bom nas freadas, mas também é um circuito que traz os tempos muito próximos. Então é uma prova muito aguerrida, é uma prova muito de disputa. Eu tive a honra de participar no circuito velho também. Então, quando eu passo aqui no S do Senna, eu ainda lembro passando ali longo na curva 1, onde eu podia acenar para minha avó, que tinha a casinha ali entre a curva 1 e a curva 2.
A Porsche Cup nunca ficou fora dessa festa. A categoria se apresenta todos os anos desde 2005 como o evento preliminar da Fórmula 1 em São Paulo. Mas o que será que faz essa pista tão especial? Em seus 18 anos de história, a Porsche Cup já correu 197 vezes em Interlagos. O maior vencedor é Miguel Paludo, que já ganhou 19 vezes.
Interlagos, desde a minha primeira participação há vários anos atrás até minha última vitória ano passado aqui no GP de Fórmula 1, sempre me trouxe várias alegrias. É uma pista que eu encaixei desde as primeiras voltas aqui, então toda vez que eu volto para Interlagos tem um sentimento muito especial como piloto, e ter 19 vitórias aqui com certeza faz com que eu goste ainda mais dessa pista que está no topo da minha lista de favoritos.
E agora, quem será o próximo a comemorar uma vitória no mítico circuito de Interlagos? A resposta só na bandeirada.
Yeah, nice video talking specifically about this shared history that I was talking about. Of course, Porsche Cup Brazil racing at Interlagos since the very first year of its history. The very first race, indeed. We had 11 cars in that grid in 2005. Yeah, that was the year. And now we have more than 40 cars, if we count the cars from the Carrera Cup championship that we have in this 300 kilometers race. Also the Sprint Challenge Championship and the Sprint Trophy Championship that won't be racing the endurance event today, but has held a race earlier today. And we heard also from Denner Pires, CEO of Porsche Cup Brazil, talking about how important this track is for the series. Of course, we are talking about a shared history. And Rubens Barrichello was highlighting the importance of Interlagos. He has had the honor of racing the old layout of the circuit, has a history with his grandmother that used to live here close to the track. And of course, we have to remember that since 2005, Porsche Brazil is a support event for the Formula 1 Grand Prix that we have in our country. We have already 197 races with Porsche Brazil in this track, Sergio. So that is quite a lot. Now this endurance race will be the race number 198 of Porsche Cup Brazil at Interlagos. We heard also from Miguel Paludo, that is the guy with more race wins in Porsche Brazil at this track. 19 wins for him, and now we have to wait and see who will be the winner after this 300 kilometers race, as we hear from our pit reporter, Renata Diniz.
Lá vem ele não quer sair, ele quer mais. DG, você quer mais uma, é isso?
Oi, queria mais uma.
Desce aqui e vem contar pra gente como é que foi essa experiência. Ele tava super animado antes de entrar no carro, então assim, um total de medo zero. E aí agora que eu quero saber... Conta aqui, DG, me conta.
Muito irado. Cara, ela botou 230 ali, por ali. Eu olhei assim, eu falei, caraca, que irada. Ela na curva, ela é muito agressiva, muito bom. Amei. Queria ir de novo, mas não pode.
Foi a sua primeira experiência com automobilismo?
Primeira experiência. Eu sou viciado em adrenalina, gente. Amei, muito irado.
E juntou tudo, né? Porque conta dessa camiseta, conta o que você tá fazendo aqui, esse carro personalizado.
Pra quem não sabe, eu tô dublando o Mirage, que é um personagem que tá no filme Transforme, O Despertar das Feras. E ele é uma Porsche, né? Então, por isso que eu estou aqui no evento. Por isso, tudo a ver com o evento no Porsche Cup. E aí, por isso que eu vim correr no Porsche da Antonella. Antonella! Tirou onda! Pô, tu é muito boa, cara. Tu é muito agressiva nas curvas. Ela é muito agressiva nas curvas. Irado.
Fala com a voz do Mirage, então. Ela é muito agressiva.
A Antonella é muito agressiva nas curvas. Gostei, hein? Muito bom, gente. É isso. Tamo junto.
Dia 8, é isso, no cinema?
Dia 8 de julho nos cinemas. Não percam, tá, gente? Transformes, O Despertar das Feras. Vambora!
Valeu, DG.
Valeu!
Yeah, we heard there from Douglas Silva, that is an actor, also a former Big Brother Brazil contender in our reality show here in our country. He's promoting the new Transformers movie. He's actually dubbing one of the characters, and the character.
Boa tarde, Luque Monteiro, Thiago Mendonça, todos os fãs de velocidade, de automobilismo. E acho que o DG agora também virou muito fã, viu? Ele curtiu demais. E eu já fiquei curiosa de ver esse Porsche falando com a voz dele. Ele deu uma palhinha ali que eu pedi e eu acho que esse filme promete muito. Bom, que promete também a nossa corrida de hoje. Vocês estavam falando sobre se você já tem alguma ideia, alguma preferência. Eu fico na opinião do Thiago ali também, eu acho que tá tudo muito competitivo, não dá. E, além de tudo isso, a estratégia, tudo que acontece aqui na área de boxe, que eu acompanho durante a corrida e vou trazer tudo pra vocês. Por enquanto, tô aqui no grid, os pilotos estão chegando, vou tentar falar com eles um pouquinho rápido, que eu sei que eles combinam muitas coisas neste momento, e trago tudo pra vocês.
Yeah, just Renata talking about the grid formation there. The cars are still getting to their grid places, and then of course she will be interviewing a lot of drivers prior to the race start. So the expectation is quite good, and the build-up for this 300 kilometers race is also interesting with a lot of famous characters, as we see the onboard comparison of the lap times of Enzo Elias and Marcel Miller, partners in the car number 544. Of course, the average time of both of the drivers awarded them pole position. Sergio.
Yes, it was great time by both. Marcel Miller was the fastest in the qualifying sessions. Yesterday we had Group A and Group B. In Group A, which featured the regular drivers of the category, Marcel Miller got the best lap time. In the Group A, where are the guests, Enzo Elias, who up to last year was competing in the Carrera Cup Championship. He's actually the current champion of the Carrera Cup Sprint Championship, but this year he's competing in Brazilian stock car. He came back to race with Marcel Miller in the Endurance Championship. Enzo Elias was the 6th best time in his group, Group B, which was an excellent time anyways, Carlos.
Yeah, definitely. And you were highlighting the fact that they were rivals for the title last year, so it is quite interesting to see Enzo Elias partnering Marcel Miller. Marcel Miller is still a regular of the Sprint Championship of Porsche Cup Brazil. Enzo Elias, as you said, driving in the Stock Car Pro Series this year, but of course he has raced in this Porsche cars until the end of last year. So he knows the track and the car very well. And the expectation is quite good, because this is one of the driver duos that I believe that will fight for this race win. Apart from the fact that they are starting from pole position, they are very competitive. And we know that the grid position in such a long endurance race isn't that important. Consistency, having a clean race, of course, having the right level actually of aggressiveness and managing the tires, that kind of stuff. All this is very important in order to grab a race win, and of course they have a lot of
isso. Bom, um marco muito importante aqui pro Werner Neubauer. A 100ª corrida dele vai acontecer hoje, Werner. Dessas 100 corridas aqui, tem alguma que foi mais especial pra você, que dá pra destacar?
Eu tô ficando velho aqui já, né? Eu acho que o ponto mais importante assim foi o campeonato em 2018. Que é o que marcou mais a memória.
É isso. E como é que tá? Tá bem concentrado que eu tô vendo, né, Werner?
A gente... É uma corrida longa, né? Vamos ver, a gente tá largando em segundo, tem um bom ritmo. O quali não foi exatamente como a gente queria ontem, mas vamos pra cima. A gente sabe que tem um bom ritmo de pneu usado e vamos pra cima. Ganhar na 100ª corrida é legal, né?
Olha aí, ó. Pode ser uma ótima. Obrigada, boa corrida, Werner.
Yeah, Werner Neubauer, partner of Ricardo Zonta in this endurance race. Werner is actually completing 100 races in Porsche Cup Brazil. So that's quite an achievement. He was asked about his best memory in this series. He talked about his championship back in 2018. Yes, 2018, that's it. And of course, he wants a race win in his race number 100 in this series. It would be very nice to see, and of course, he's partnering with a very competitive driver that is Ricardo Zonta, a former Formula 1 driver.
Vou aproveitar e falar com o seu Feldman, que faz dupla com o Guilherme Salas. Essa dupla que a gente já conhece muito bem, tem um bom entrosamento aí na pista. E aí, Alceu, como é que tá a cabeça? Largando uma posição privilegiada aqui também, mas a corrida é longa, né?
São 300 quilômetros, tem que cuidar. Mas o pessoal não cuida muito, né? Vai largar com tudo, todo mundo vai acelerar e o Gui vai largar aí, vamos conseguir um terceiro lugar, quase um segundo por 0,001, a gente não larga em segundo, mas no terceiro tá legal, acho que vai dar para disputar a corrida sim.
Muito equilibrado, né? Muito justo.
Muito justo, todas as classificações foram justas e isso é ótimo, né? Mostra que a categoria tá top, né? E fazer isso que o Denner e a categoria fez no autódromo hoje, 2 horas antes já estava lotado, é um show. Só a Porsche consegue fazer isso hoje no Brasil.
Baita evento. Inclusive, ontem a gente destacou a pintura do seu carro, layout novo, ficou muito legal, curtiu?
Nós estamos com uma pintura comemorativa da TAG, foi o Adonis, um artista que fez essa pintura aí, eu acho que ficou top. E já pedi para ficar pro ano inteiro, mas não sei se vai conseguir.
Tomara, eu curti bastante. A gente falou com ele ontem durante o quali e ele explicou certinho como foi feito. Obrigada ao seu, boa corrida.
Obrigado, Renatinha, obrigado a todos aí, vamos lá. Obrigado, torcida.
Boa. O grid já está praticamente formado. Quem chegou por último aqui foram os poles. Então o Marçal e Enzo estão chegando aqui agora, vamos tentar falar com eles antes da largada.
Renata will try to interview the pole men or pole guys that are Enzo, Elias, and Marcel Miller, but she was talking to Alceu Feldman, driver of the car number 1, the Tag Heuer car there, with a special livery actually for this round, a hand-painted livery. Alceu Feldman partners with Guilherme Salas that will start the race, and Alceu Feldman that will start from P3 alongside his co-driver, was highlighting the fact that they were split by only 1 millisecond, and that's why they lost the second spot of the grid to Werner Neugbauer and Ricardo Zonta. So you can see how tight it was in the qualifying session that we had yesterday, Sergio.
Yes, exactly. It was very competitive indeed. The best combined time for Marcel Miller and Enzo Elias was 1:35.338, and then we had in the 17th position, the combined timing for the 17th position was 1:36.218. So less than 1 second separating the best 17 combined time. So that shows how competitive, as you said, Carlos, the category is. As we saw before, the two guys who got the pole position, Enzo Elias and Marcel Miller. We're waiting for the interview with Renata, and that indeed promises to be a great race. And what makes me really proud and happy, Carlos, is to see all this public that are following the race. These are not VIP guys, these are the public going to the racetrack to watch this.
O que eu ia falar é que eu tô tentando falar com o Enzo e com o Marçal, mas nesse momento o Vini Quadros está aqui junto com o Ricardo Landi. Eles vão passar algumas orientações para a largada, então eu não posso interromper muito essa conversa deles aqui. Mas daqui a pouco a gente fala com eles.
Renata was trying to talk with Marcel and Enzo Elias, but they are talking about strategy. But anyway, your highlight is very important, Sergio, because there's a lot of people in the stands, and as you said, not VIP fans, guys that come to watch the race independently of the package that they have in terms of a pit lane access or going to the paddock. They like racing, and that's why Porsche Cup Brazil is such a popular series, because the level of competitiveness of the championships, they are very, very high. And that's something that we can expect once more, because the endurance racing in Porsche Cup Brazil, they are very, very good. We had a very interesting championship in the endurance series last year with a dramatic season finale, actually. But one thing is certain: entertainment, racing, overtaking, touches, incidents, that all of that stuff we can expect in this race. And of course the expectation is quite good, especially for the race start, because we can see that we have some of the guest drivers selected for the first stint of the race. Of course they have to change drivers throughout the stints of this 300 kilometers event, but I think that Rubens Barrichello will start in his car number 3 that he shares with Franco Giaffoni. We saw that Ricardo Zonta will start the race as well. Guilherme Salas, that is rival of Zonta in the Stock Car Pro Series. And of course, a lot of good drivers throughout the whole grid.
Yeah, we just saw there Oliver Paludo, son of Miguel Paludo, waving to the camera with his brand t-shirt. Yes, and it's important to point, Carlos, also that even though as a general rule we have the guests, the hosts, let's say the regular drivers and their guest drivers, there are some cars that don't follow these rules. There are some duels that just entered to compete in the endurance championship, because Porsche Cup Brazil, it has 9 races overall, being 6 events of the sprint championship with 2 races each, but it's 6 events. And then we have 3 races in the endurance championship, 2 being of 300 kilometers, and then the last one, the 500 kilometers of Interlagos. That's the season finale. And one of the races of the sprint championship is held as a companion race for the Formula 1 GP in Brazil. So it shows you, everybody, the importance of this category, and it's beautiful to see 36 cars there, being 26 of the Carrera Cup, which is the main, let's say, main category, the stronger car. These are the 992s, and then we have 10 cars in the Sprint Challenge, which are the 991s-2. So that's very nice to see that, Carlos, as well.
Yeah, and you talked about the cars. Interesting that we have a new car from the beginning of last season, actually, the 992, as you said, but they are quite leveled in terms of power. Of course, 992 is a little bit more powerful, reaching 460 horsepower, but the 991-2 has 450 horsepower, so it's also very powerful, even though in terms of technology, transmission, that kind of stuff, the newer cars is obviously a little bit more competitive, and that's why we have 2 championships. And of course, the drivers are split in terms of their driving experience, their expertise, managing the car and that kind of stuff. So we have a Porsche Carrera Cup with the main class, the general class, if you can say so, the sport class that is the intermediate one, and the rookie class that is the most democratic one. That's the same for the Sprint Challenge Championship with the general class, the sport class, and the rookie class. Apart from that, we have the school category, that is Porsche Sprint Trophy, that isn't racing in this endurance event, but has had a race earlier today with the old 991-1 cars that were used until the end of 2021 in the Sprint Challenge Championship. So we have to highlight this as well. Porsche Cup Brazil is a very well organized category, and the series, they are always using all of its potential, and that's very nice to see that some of the drivers from the Porsche Sprint Trophy Championship, they are racing in this endurance event as well, but in the Sprint Challenge cars, the 991-2, we are talking about Matheus Rocchi, that has won the race earlier today, and Giuliano Bertuccelli, P2, in the race that we had this Saturday. So the build-up is quite good, an aerial view once more of Interlagos, and I believe that they will show us the grid positions of the drivers. And of course, we will bring you all the factors behind this endurance race, stages, pit windows, and all that kind of stuff that, of course, are very important in such a long race. Sergio.
Yes, and one of them, Matheus Rocchi, who won the race earlier today. The race was held just 2-3 hours ago, so it was not long ago that he won the race. He's going to race with Paulo Totaro, so that's a very good story. Actually, I read it, Carlos, in the because if you don't know yet, Carlos works for motorsport.com in Brazil. So he works for the Brazilian site, and I was reading the feature, Carlos, that Guilherme Longo, that is one of the journalists that works with you in the site, and it's a very beautiful feature about Paulo Totaro, who had a huge accident early last year in the preseason, and then he was able to recuperate, to get better. He got clearance. As right now we go to the Brazilian national anthem. nice. That was the Brazilian anthem. So that's it for the ceremonies. And soon we will have some racing, Carlos Costa. So as I was saying, Carlos, that was a beautiful feature about Paulo Totaro. And so he decided to go back to racing. He was tested by Fabio Carboni, I believe, one of the coaches that works for the category. He was approved to race, and he's racing with Matheus Roque. And yesterday, Totaro said that Matheus Roque asked him to race, and he said, yes, why not? That he was by his side when he had an accident.
Yeah, that's a very nice story, as you see one more introduction video of Porsche Cup Brazil. And Matheus Roque was actually one of the guys that helped in the rescue process of Paulo Totaro in the accident of the pre-season testing of the last year. So that's a very nice story indeed.
And we are again with some images from Interlagos. That was before the race. The cars are already on the track waiting for the sign to start racing. Everybody's there getting prepared. But we see this image. This is the first round of the 2023 Endurance Championship, Porsche Cup Endurance Championship in Brazil. As we see Rubens Barrichello, probably I would say, Carlos, the most accomplished driver among the drivers in the field. Of course, there are many great drivers, but if you consider Formula One, Rubens has many victories in Formula One. So, you know, and is a very important career there. So that makes him very accomplished. It will be 70 laps or 2 hours and 30 minutes. We expect it to last less than 2 hours and 30 minutes, unless there is a major problem, heavy rain or something. But anyway, that's the time limit. As we see the track in this beautiful image, I consider this a beautiful image. The lake behind it, the city of São Paulo that grew alongside this racetrack. Of course, downtown São Paulo is a little bit far away, right, Carlos? But the city grew, and so Interlagos, when it was built a long time ago, it was far away from the downtown. Well, it's the same distance as it's now from downtown, but there's not much city around it. But right now, it's surrounded by city.
Yeah, as you said, the city grew. And especially this neighborhood.
Boa tarde, Luque
it's
Monteiro, Thiago
very
Mendonça, todos os
dependent
fãs de
on the
velocidade
circuit.
de automobilismo,
Of course,
fãs da
there's an
Porsche Cup
economic
Brasil.
factor.
Sim, estou
Let's
aqui no
hear now
grid
from
que já está
Marcel
super
Miller.
formado e eu vou falar, corrida de endurance, as estratégias começam desde o grid, quem vai largar, quem não vai. Marcel Miller e Enzo Elias que vão largar na pole, estavam nessa aqui, os dois iam se equipar para tentar enganar os adversários que vêm logo atrás. Era isso, né, Marcel? A carinha dele.
Tudo faz parte da estratégia, por mais que é uma corrida longa, o início dela é muito importante. São carros que não estragam, então todo mundo vai ter um ritmo muito forte do início ao fim. Então, com certeza, a largada e manter a track position agora é muito importante.
É isso. Então quem vai largar é o Enzo Elias. E falando nisso, é uma largada numa posição muito privilegiada, mas como você falou, faz muita diferença, não faz? Para quem está em casa, fala do seu panorama, Marcel.
Com certeza faz diferença. Aqui é uma categoria que a endurance dela é como se fosse 4 provas de sprint, né? Então, com certeza faz muita diferença largar na frente. Nós vamos tentar se aproveitar disso, tentar manter a liderança e ir construindo a corrida conforme os sprints foram vindo.
Que responsa puxar esse batalhão, porque tem muita gente vindo atrás, hein?
É verdade, tem que olhar pra frente agora.
Só pra frente, o Enzo Elias já tá lá, ó, mais do que pronto. Obrigada, Marcel, boa corrida.
Yeah, we heard there from Marcel Miller. He was talking about his strategy alongside Enzo Elias that will start the race for this 300 kilometers event, highlighting the importance of the pole position, but especially focusing on maintaining the track position compared to their rivals throughout the stints. He was highlighting this factor, and we also saw that their car has 47.5 kilos, that's it, more to their car because of the balance of performance regulations. And why? they have an extra weight to their cars since we didn't have any round. That's because of their grades as drivers in the Porsche Cup Brazil system. Of course, we are talking about the reigning champion, actually, Enzo Elias, and the runner-up. So they carry extra weight in their cars in order to have a good balance of performance throughout the grid, and that's an important factor as well. And that's why Enzo Elias struggled a bit in the qualifying session yesterday, but still they were able with the average to start ahead of the pack, and they are getting in that nervous moment pre-race, I would say, Sergio.
Yeah, they are getting in the zone. They have to get in the zone to be
Nasceu
able to
sim.
perform. They have to
Nasceu,
forget
gente, nasceu.
everything
Foi essa madrugada, eu acho. Desculpa interromper vocês, mas nasceu sim.
Renata.
Yeah, and I think Renata Diniz was talking about the kid of Gerson Campos, if I'm not wrong.
Olha, posso só fazer um comentário a mais? Ontem eu achei ele tava muito otimista, assim, muito controlador, muito organizado, né? Ele falou, olha, vai passar a corrida de amanhã, vai passar o Dia das Mães, ele vai nascer lá pra segunda ou terça-feira. Falei, opa, mas isso tá muito programado, hein? Criança quando... Exatamente. Aí hoje de manhã eu vi no Instagram, eu acho que ele dormiu muito pouco essa noite. Depois eu vou bater um papo com ele pra saber como é que ele tá.
Yeah, I think that's it. We will have the confirmation, but anyway, Gerson Campos, that is the pole sitter of the Sprint Challenge Championship alongside his mate Marcelo Tomazoni, leader of the Sprint Championship, by the way. So an extra motivation, I would say, Sergio.
Yeah. What she was saying was actually that he told her, Renata, that it was fine because the kid was going to born only after Mother's Day, which is tomorrow, of course. But so he was, he was not stressed or anything. But the birth was tonight, so last night. So probably he didn't sleep that much before the race. But I'm sure he'll be ready. At least he'll be happy for sure. He is a happy fellow there with one more kid. I believe it's his second, so that's great for Gerson.
The happiness compensates the lack of sleeping.
Exactly. The adrenaline is on. Well, there we see the 544. That's the pole position of Marcel Miller and Enzo Elias. On your left side, we have number 8 with Werner Neugebauer and Ricardo Zonta. In third, we have Alceu Feldman and Salas in Porsche number 1. And then we have this 888 with Lineu Pires and Beto Grassi. These are the two first rows in this race that we're going to follow. We still have the 3-minute sign. Of course, it will change to the 1-minute sign. So soon you will have 1 minute. We see that pretty much everybody left the track. We just see a few people that are really important to be there at this point. And we are ready, Carlos, for the 300 kilometers of Interlagos, which will be 70 laps. Remembering we have a different kind of pit stop, and we see again in our transmission this comparison between Marcel Miller and Enzo Elias, that their time combined got them the pole position for the race today. It's a very interesting duo. We already said they were adversaries last year, and now they're competing together. And you said they are one of the favorites for today, Carlos. I would say they are one of the favorites for the championship as well in 2023.
Definitely, no doubt about it, considering actually the level of the drivers, both Marcel and Enzo are very accomplished in this series, but alongside them in the first row, for example, we have Werner Neugebauer and Ricardo Zonta. A lot of experience for both of them as well, especially Werner. And of course, Zonta is a very accomplished driver. As was saying in the beginning of this broadcast, former F1 driver, has driven for the British American racing team and other Formula 1 teams as a reserve driver as well, Toyota as main driver in this case. Also Feldman and Guilherme Salas, they had a very good season last year, even though they struggled a bit in one of the rounds, but they are definitely guys to watch. I would say that apart from them, it will be interesting thinking about the championship, the prospects for the whole season, to see Miguel Paludo's performance today alongside Alan Hellmeister, a good mate there for Miguel Paludo, 7-time champion of Porsche Brazil. And throughout the grid, we have a lot of accomplished drivers, but the duo of the drivers, it has to be very good because, for example, Rubens Barrichello is racing alongside Franco Giaffoni. Okay, you can say that he's the sport class champion of the Sprint Championship last year, but not as accomplished as Rubens as we see the grid.
Yes, on the third row, Fefo and Dudu Barrichello and Miguel Paluda and Alan Hellmeister. Behind them, Lucas Salles and Rafael Suzuki. Giorgio Frangulis and Cesar Ramos are alongside them. Nelson Monteiro and Nicolas Costa, who is competing in this year main championship alongside Franco Giaffoni and Rubens Barrichello. Roman Zinkiewicz is racing alongside Nelson Piquet Jr., Josimar Jr. and Sergio Ramalho. Silvio Barros, Caio Collet was the fastest yesterday in qualifying. Combined time, he starts 13th. Then we have behind them Nelson Marcondes and Luis Razia, Peter Ferter and Diego Nunes. Good time for them as well. Rodrigo Melo and Thiago Vivaco, a Portuguese driver, Thiago Vivaco, a Portuguese Brazilian who is competing, Marcelo Han and Alan Kodair. Alongside them, then Eduardo Menossi and Pedro Boesel, Leonardo Sanches and Attila Abreu, Paulo Souza, Gali Osman, Marco Pisani and Renan Guerra, and then Eyman Darwich and Ricardo Mauricio with Edu Guedes and Renan Pizzi alongside them, Piero Cifali and Andrea Bragantini Jr., Marcelo Tomazoni and Gerson Campos are the pole positions for the Sprint Challenge. Then Israel Salman, Rafael Martins, Sadak Leite and Fabio Carboni. And then behind them we have Nasser Abul Taif and Sang Joaquim, Luiz Landi and Bruno Xavier, Yolando Bertuccelli, Pietro Rimbano and Eric Santos and João Gonçalves. And then we have Ramon Alcaraz, we see there. So there are a total of 36 cars, 72 drivers, a great show that they promised to put this afternoon, this Saturday afternoon in Interlagos. We already have side by side, the red light is on. Side by side we have Marçal Enzo Elias and Ricardo Zonta. Enzo Elias in the 544. The red lights are going to turn off and we start the race. Let's wait and see. Oh, someone left there on the side still. Red, yellow flag, yellow flag, yellow flag. We didn't have the start of the race. Carlos, a few drivers were jumping already behind them, but the race director decided to give them one more lap at least.
Yeah, multiple jump starts in the middle or the back of the grid there. Of course, a lot of cars, it's quite difficult to see who it was, but anyway, we saw that the yellow flag was waved and the race start postponed. Let's see if, for the next lap already, because the safety car has to be deployed once more, I believe, so that they form the rows there. And of course, side by side, they usually have a clean race start, actually, especially in the Carrera Cup Championship, so that's a bit weird. Let's check in the replay if the yellow flag was already being waved.
I think it was very disorganized in the back, Carlos.
Yeah.
That's my impression. The first, let's say, 6-7 rows were definitely very well organized, but the back of the field was not organized at all. So they're giving one more lap at least. I wonder if they are going to be organized as a side by side. There he is. Let's wait and see.
Yeah, but without a safety car, it's difficult to organize the whole pack. But
yeah, that's you stole my thoughts, Carlos. I was thinking, how is it going to happen? No, it's fine. It's just fun, because I was looking, how are they going? But they are organizing themselves. At least the first rows, they are getting organized. The problem was in the back. The cars on the back have to organize themselves as well. It's not that hard, Carlos. They do this every year, most of them.
yeah, but I agree. Probably the race director told the guy there with the flag to wave the yellow flag so that the guys from the back of the grid, they would know that race start was postponed in order to reorganize the whole pack, because indeed the cars in the middle and the back part of the grid, they were a little bit messy there, to say the least. Let's wait and see now.
Well, they seem organized now. We have number 544. It's with Enzo Elias driving, Ricardo Zonta is in the Porsche number 8. Behind them, we have number 1 of Guilherme Salas driving. The 888 is alongside it. Now it looks race will start. The yellow flag is there, it's fine. Red lights are on already. Let's wait them to turn off. We'll have now the start of the race. Now we'll have, let's see, let's race. The start of the race, 300 kilometers off Interlagos, or side by side, Miguel Paludo. The car number 7 goes alongside there. Let's see who is first. And wow, it's the car number 1, it seems, Carlos. In car number 1, they're driven by Guilherme Salas, gets the first position. Let's double check. Number 1 got behind. I think it's number 888. Yes, it's an incredible
Beto Grassi.
start. There is, yeah, it was Beto Grassi, exactly. It was Beto Grassi in the 888. The green number 1 is darker green. And Beto Grassi, what a start for him with Enzo Elias in second. There was a battle for first position between Enzo Elias and then number 8 of Ricardo Zonta, and at the end Beto Grassi got the first position. Great work by them, and car number 7, Porsche number 7, is in the 4th position right now. Great work as well by car number 7.
Yeah, very nice race start, especially when you look to what Beto Grassi did, and we have to remember that his grid position wasn't that high, 4th in the grid, so he was able to overtake 3 cars there. Guilherme Salas, Ricardo Zonta, and Enzo Elias. As you said, car number 7 also a highlight, driven currently by Miguel Paludo, one of the guys to watch. Definitely a clean start after that first attempt that was a bit messy, and now first of 70 laps, and I think it's Caio Collet there with the number 0 car already attacking it. Caio Collet that was very fast in the qualifying session.
Yeah, we gotta pay attention on him. I have at number 7, Carlos, you could double check for me, Alan Hellmeister starting the race. I don't think it's Miguel Paludo. We have Beto Grassi in first, then Enzo Elias, Ricardo Zonta, Alan Hellmeister, and then Guilherme Salas in the number 1. The number 1 actually lost a few positions, lost a couple of positions, and in the 6th position we have Fefo Barrichello, who is starting with car number 111. That's the car driven by he and his brother. They are both sons of Rubens Barrichello. So it was a good start. They started in 6th. As we see, Alan Hellmeister very aggressive there over over Ricardo Zonta, pardon me, trying to get the 3rd position and in the race.
And you are right, I double checked here. It seems that it is Alan Hellmeister, which is good for Miguel Paludo. Now he overtakes.
And he gets the position. Alan Hellmeister is 3rd. He gets the position from Ricardo Zonta. Great work by Alan Hellmeister in the beginning of the race. He's trying to give victory number 20 for Miguel Paludo. Miguel Paludo is the most winning driver in Porsche.
Only in this track.
Interlagos. In this track, yes. I mean in this track, yes. He has 19 wins, so it would be his 20th win. 19 wins, right? Yes, it's 19 for sure. So it's a great statistic for Miguel Paludo.
Yeah, and I was going to talk about that because we all know that Paludo has the pace, and of course Alan Hellmeister is a very accomplished driver as well, has raced internationally, actually had a very big crash in 2019 if I'm not wrong, and he had to do a very long recovery but has recovered fully already, and we all know that he's fast. But anyway, consistency is key in such a long race, and let's see if Alan will push throughout the very end of the stint, and one more battle there.
Exactly, it's the Nelson Piquet Jr. trying to overtake Fefo Barrichello. That's the battle there, and Nelson Piquet Jr. gets the position. Nelson Piquet, as we call him, or Nelson Piquet Jr., maybe it's easier to say like that, is very fast, was very fast. He was the fastest in the free practice on Thursday. So he's trying there to advance in the field. That's another driver that will have to be paying attention. Nelson Piquet Jr., who is racing with Roman Zinkevich, who is a regular in the category.
Yeah, and it's important to mention that, for example, both Nelson Piquet Jr. and Rubens Barrichello, they are partnering with guys from the sport class division of the Carrera Cup Championship. So theoretically, compared to the main, the general class, they are slower or less consistent. So Nelson Piquet Jr. will have to be very fast in order to give the car in a good position to Roman Ginkiewicz. A nice fight there between car number 70 car number 3.
Exactly. Franco Giaffoni and Lucas Salles. Lucas Salles, they are rivals during the regular championship. Lucas Salles is able to keep his position. Good work by him. But we see behind them, I believe it's Nicolas Costa or Frangulis. Oh, look at that. Wow. Great work by the I think it was Marcelo Ham there. I'm quite sure it was Marcelo Ham that he races with the Blau sponsorship, and he got a very good start as well. That's a very strong car, the Blau Motorsports car. Yeah, it's number 16 exactly. It's being driven by Marcelo Ham and Alan Kodair, but right now Marcelo Ham is behind the wheel.
Yeah, a lot of battles in the middle of the pack there. We saw Kyle Collet overtaking, but going a bit wide and losing position. As you said, Marcelo Hahn in the Blau Motorsport sponsored car. Actually, a Blau Motorsport sponsored car won the last endurance race of Porsche Cup Brazil, the season finale of the Endurance Series Championship in 2022 here at Interlagos, but with the duo of drivers that had Christian Hahn, Marcelo's kid, and Diego Nunes. Diego Nunes is partnering Peter Vetter for this race, and Christian Hahn is not competing. But anyway, a very competitive group in motorsport. Blau Motorsport also has a team in the Stock Car Pro Series, and Alan Hellmeister is approaching there, Sergio.
Yes, he's getting close to the second place, Enzo Elias. Beto Grassi is still ahead of the pack. Great work by Beto Grassi in the Porsche number 888. He races with Lineu Pires. So he's not from the main Carrera Cup class, Carlos, even though Beto Grassi is the guest. So he races with Lineu Pires, so he has to keep ahead. It's very important for him, as in theory Lineu Pires want to go as fast. Best lap so far for Alan Hellmeister, 136.258 of 164 kilometers per hour.
Yeah,
or
quite
dot,
fast.
as you say. In Brazil we say comma, but in English we say dot. So anyway.
Yeah, and we have to remember that all of the cars of the main Carrera class, they have 47.5 kilos to their car. So the balance of performance regulations, they are there in order to balance the grid throughout the classes, not necessarily the drivers or the duo of drivers. And anyway, Beto Grassi in a very good performance so far. And even though Lineu Pires is from the sport class, we have to remember that Lineu was very fast in yesterday's qualifying session. So that's a promising start of the 300 kilometers race for that duo of drivers of the car number 888. And Hellmeister approaching, Sergio.
Yeah, Alan Hellmeister is very close to Enzo Elias. Let's pay attention now at the main straight. Beto Grassi leads the pack. Oh my God, Lucas Salles. Look at Lucas Salles. Carlos, wow.
That's a major
he went
crash.
straight to the barrier. Let's see if he got some help. Oh yes, I believe. Oh no, let's see if he got some help or not. Oh yeah, he definitely got help from number 3 of Franco Giaffoni. Yeah, fortunately I would say we have the tire barrier, so he should be okay. We see he's moving, he's leaving the car. That's perfect. That's what we want to see, Carlos. But probably we'll have to wait a little bit until this is fixed there, that tire damage, because it's important for the driver's safety.
Yeah, and I have to say that I'm relieved. I was a bit worried when I saw the car actually inside the tire barrier there, but it's in a point of the track that isn't such a high speed sector. So happily everything's okay with Salles. Let's hear from Renata. I think she's calling, and one more time the replay of the incident.
Yeah, I didn't understand what Franco Giaffoni there anyway, but he went straight. It was not, I would say, a very high speed point of the track, but he went head on to the barrier. So it was not a nice thing to see.
Não, só pra avisar que eu vim até o box e já peguei a informação de que
And
o
we
Lucas tá
have the
bem, tá
safety
tudo bem.
car. Yes, we had to have the safety car. There's no
Yeah.
doubt about that. Porsche, the race director, did totally fine because there's no other decision to take.
Yeah, because rescuing the car isn't that difficult, but they have to fix the tire barrier there. So that's why they have to deploy the safety car, the correct decision, as you said. And Renata Diniz was only informing that she got to the box of Lucas Salles and Rafael Suzuki, and she confirmed that everything is okay with Lucas Salles. He probably sent a radio message to his crew. And I think that Franco Giaffori thought that Lucas Salles would go to the outside line there, and he tried to position his car in the inside line there in order to hit the apex in a better position. It was a left-hander, but I think he miscalculated there. And of course it was, even though it wasn't such a high speed point of the track, it was a strong contact, and that's why Lucas Salles couldn't avoid going to the tire barrier there. So anyway, it is Franco Giaffoni's fault in that incident. I believe that the race director and the stewards will give him a penalty, but the good thing is that Lucas is okay. That is obviously the most important thing.
Yeah, and as we saw again, Carlos, the start of the race, we could see the beautiful work done by Beto Grassi there. I believe it was a great work. Now we see again what happened, the accident that brought the first safety car for this race. And it was really head on. That was incredible.
Yeah, and you are right. Very good job done there by Beto Grassi. You see that the car isn't that much wrecked or anything like that, which is good because it just shows that the speed wasn't that high, and maybe that helps in terms of fixing the tire barriers there. But anyway, let's see what the race director will decide, because to fix it completely, it certainly takes a lot of time.
Yes, exactly. We have to see that at first. I don't know what will be their decision, of course, but we don't know, right, Carlos? But at first, it's also not an area of a high impact. Let's put it this way. It's not an area that they are in such a high speed. But as we saw, Rubens Barrichello there watching what happened. Rubens Barrichello, who races with Franco Giaffoni, the driver who touched the car of Lucas Salles, okay? Lucas Salles races with Rafael Suzuki, that we saw him as well looking at what happened, and the other car involved was Franco Giaffoni, who did the touch, and Rubens Barrichello races with him. And of course, Rubens Barrichello, I would say he's worried, Carlos, because they might get some penalty, they might lose some
Probably.
time. Yeah, I would say yes, but we never know. Of course, this decision is not up to us.
Yeah, but that's a shame because it certainly will compromise Rubens' race as well. We are talking about a good duo of drivers there. Franco Giaffoni, as I said earlier today, he is the reigning Sport Class Carrera Cup champion, actually. So he won last year's sprint championship in the intermediate class of the Carrera Cup championship. So he is a guy that knows what he is doing, but miscalculated there. And of course, due to what happened, the race director, he had to deploy the safety car, and the stewards have to take an action. And that's a shame because Rubens probably will have to focus on a recovery race there. It isn't a race to win anymore because of the penalty that probably will be given to car number 3. At least he have his kids in car number 111.
Exactly. Carlos, I would like to take the opportunity there. We are under the safety car, and there were some changes, right? This year, I would like you to explain regarding the pit stops. We have, as last year, we have the 3 mandatory pit stops of 6 minutes, but the time these pit stops will be done, there was a change in that for this year.
Yeah, now we have a specific pit window of 8 minutes, so that all of the cars they have to pit, as you said, a 6 minutes total pit stop. But anyway, they have to change, actually to choose one moment of the race inside this 8-minute pit window in order to make the driver change there. So that's an important factor, because it let's put it that way, it comes a little bit harder to have an open strategy or a free strategy, because you are a hostage, to say this way, of the regulations. You have to pit in that specific moment, in that specific pit window. So it's interesting, because all of the drivers, in theory, they will have in and similar strategy, to say the least, because of course they won't be that free in order to change the drivers when they want. So I think that's a good measure, because as it is also the period of time that the regular driver has to be in the car, it always gives a little bit more of competitiveness, because then everything is done in a similar way, and all of the driver duos, they have to respect some rules, so that they are in a similar strategy and in a similar situation in terms of competitiveness. Because, for example, sometimes you have a duo of drivers with a different level of drivers. Car number 3, for example, is one case. Franco Giaffoni is a good driver, but he's racing alongside Rubens Barrichello, an 11-time Formula 1 Grand Prix winner, reigning champion of the Stock Car Pro Series, that is the most competitive series that we have in Latin America, alongside Porsche Cup Brazil. And of course, if they could, he would try and get Rubens in the car for most of the time, but due to the regulations, they cannot, and that's fair, at least in my opinion, Sergio.
Exactly. No, totally. You're absolutely right, Carlos. And these windows will come at the beginning of lap 17, lap 34, and lap 52. So 8 minutes from the beginning of each of these laps, the cars will have to stop. And of course, being 3 stops, that allows the teams to do a strategy. They can start with one driver, have this driver end the race, and the other driver can do the 2 stints in the middle, or one driver can do the first 2 stints and the second driver the last 2 stints, and or it can be 1 stint, 1 driver, driver A, stint 2, driver B, stint 3, driver A, and stint 4, driver B. So these are pretty much the strategies that these guys can take. Of course, they will do that accordingly to the level, the skills of their drivers, and the rules also don't allow a driver for a practical matter, to drive 3 stints, because the drivers with bigger balance of performance, they can only race during 36 laps. That's to avoid, for example, like the case you said, Carlos, that Rubens Barrichello races most of the race and Franco Giaffoni doesn't race it, so that would give an unfair advantage, and they would not be billed as well as for example, as a carreira sport. They would be main carreira, because they have Rubens Barrichello racing most of the race, but they are carreira sport. That's the class they are competing, and to level the field, Franco Giaffoni has pretty much to race half of the race. It has to be on the wheels half of the race.
Yeah, that's it, and that's fair. And we can see that we have a lot of driver duels that could be benefiting from this kind of distortion, I would say, in terms of strategy, if Porsche Cup Brazil didn't have such a regulation. For example, also Nelson Piquet Jr. and Roman Ginkiewicz, other driver from the sport class, a good driver, but Nelson Piquet Jr. is a Formula E world champion, has got a podium in Formula 1, has won races in NASCAR as well, so his level of driving ability is obviously a little bit superior, higher than Roman Ginkiewicz, and other cases as well, not just these two, but I think these two, they are very representative of how important these regulations they are.
Oh, there they are fixing. That's good. It seems that they are already close to fix the tire barrier there. You mentioned Nelson Piquet Jr., for example. He started 11th. He's already in 5th, and we didn't have that many laps. So we saw how much difference he can make. Right now, he's just behind Guilherme Salas in the Porsche number 1. Then we have Alan Hellmeister in the Porsche number 3, Porsche number 7, pardon me, in the 3rd position. First is Beto Grassi, and then second is Enzo Elias. This is the main situation of the race so far. Of course, also, Carlos, I would say it's frustrating for those drivers there to be during yellow flag. It's a somewhat long yellow flag due to the necessity to fix the tire barrier, but they have to do that. It's part of racing. But of course, it's frustrating, mainly, I would say, Carlos, for teams that chose their best drivers for the first stint, because right now they are not being able to work and to do what their strategy required, that was for them to get many positions as possible before giving to the let's say, less skilled driver.
Yeah, that's it. With the safety car deployed, even myself, I would have a good performance compared to any of these cars, because these drivers, because of course they are limited in terms of speed by the safety car. But anyway, it seems that the tire barrier there is being fixed quite quickly, I would say, because they have to refill, if you can say so, the barrier with new tires. Not new tires in terms of performance, but replacing the ones that got damaged in the crash that we saw with Lucas Salles. And it will be interesting to see some reverse strategies. For example, we have now Nelson Piquet Jr. In the wheel, but as we are talking about, the safety car is limiting his gains a little bit. Ricardo Zonta, the same situation. Ricardo Mauricio, for example, that is a 3-time Stock Car Pro Series champion, he's not in the car in this moment. So I think he's one of the guys that will benefit if we don't have a safety car in his stint. Let's hope so, at least. But anyway, he's being partnered with Ayman Darvic, that actually made a mistake in yesterday's qualifying. Ayman is in the car right now, so theoretically a less skilled driver. And of course, Mauricio, in theory, will benefit from the fact that he will get the car in racing conditions, green flag, and so on. But anyway, we have to wait and see if we have more crashes and more deployments of the safety car. Let's hope it's not the case.
Yes, another case that I would say that is Silvio Barros and Caio Collet, because Caio Collet was the fastest driver. Initially, it showed that Caio Collet starting the race, but actually the driver behind the wheel is Silvio Barros. So
I
Silvio
thought it was
Barros
Caio.
Yeah, so did I, but I just checked, and I was just checking because we thought he was advancing, right? But right now it shows Silvio Collet, and in a way makes sense, Carlos, because he's in the 15th position, having lost one position after the start of the race. So, that's not what we would expect for Caio Collet. Of course, nothing is guaranteed in racing, but then I saw there Silvio Barros, so I'm assuming it was him. And now we see again what happened. I really didn't get exactly why Franco Giaffoni that. I don't think he did on purpose, but
Definitely not.
yeah, no, definitely not. But it was. Do you think Lucas Salles might have lost a little bit of speed there? I don't know.
No, I think that Giaffoni maybe got the wrong picture of what Lucas Salles was going to do ahead of the left-hander that they had ahead of them, because from what I'm interpreting, probably Franco Giaffoni thought that Lucas Salles was going to the outside line of the corner in order to prevent an attack from Giaffoni in the outside line. So what Franco Giaffoni may have thought, well, I will position my car in the inside line there, ahead of the apex of the corner, so that I can try the overtaking maneuver in the second leg of the corner, the exit of the corner, to say the truth. So maybe that's his interpretation, but Lucas Salles didn't go to the outside line. And even if he did, with the aggressiveness of the maneuver that Giaffoni did, they probably would hit each other. Actually, Giaffoni would hit Lucas, even if Lucas was going to the outside line there, because it was a very fast movement by Franco. But that's the only explanation that I can think about giving to you, Sergio. I don't think it was on purpose, not at all. But anyway, a misinterpretation there.
It seems the race will start, Carlos. Safety car has his lights off. He already took off. So we'll have the restart of the race. Beto Grassi is ahead of the pack, Porsche number 888. Behind him we have Enzo Elias, then Alan Hellmeister, then Guilherme Salas and Nelson Piquet Jr. These are the top 5 as we have the restart of the race in Interlagos. It's green again. We have racing in Interlagos once more. This is the 300 kilometers of Interlagos, the first race of the Porsche Cup Endurance Series 2023. As we see Enzo Elias going on the outside, trying to get close to Beto Grassi. He's not able to. There is a battle there. Let's hope nothing happens. Or maybe hope something happens. So as we see the battle there, that's a good battle there going on. Carlos, for the first position, Enzo Elias very aggressive on Beto Grassi. Look at that, Carlos. Wow. We have among these cars, we have the 16 of Marcelo Ram, very aggressive there. And Enzo Elias for the first position. He's all over Beto Grassi. Alan Hellmeister is right behind them. And then we have Salas. Enzo Elias for the first position has the inside. He is crossed by Beto Grassi, and then Alan Hellmeister is side by side with Enzo Elias. There is not space for him. Alan Hellmeister goes off track, loses 1-2 positions, loses to Guilherme Salas and to Nelson Piquet Jr. He might have lost yet another position to Ricardo Zonta. What a bad moment for Alan Hellmeister in the Porsche number 7. Beto Grassi stays in the first position. What a battle there. And there he didn't have space, Carlos. There was a light touch, and that might have hurt a little bit Porsche number 7 going off track. Apparently Alan Hellmeister was able to survive, but not enough for he was overtaken by Guilherme Salas and by Nelson Piquet Jr. What a battle, Carlos Costa.
What a battle indeed, and it all started because Enzo Elias was very aggressive trying to overtake Beto Grassi. Beto Grassi was able to reclaim actually the lead position because for a slight moment, for a brief moment actually, Enzo was ahead, but anyway, he went a bit wide and Beto Grassi was able to retake the lead position there. And then this situation allowed Hellmeister to attack, as we see one more a fight there for position with Ricardo Zonta, if I'm not wrong. But
Nicolas
anyway,
Costa.
yeah, that's it. And Hellmeister went, Piquet Jr. now in the outside line, Sergio.
Yeah, Nelson Piquet Jr. trying to get third position from Salas, from Guilherme Salas. He's not able to. And with this, Alan Hellmeister gets close to Piquet Jr. It's a very tight battle there. Third, fourth, and fifth, and first and second are on your right side. They're not that far ahead anyways. We have the top 7 cars separated really for nothing, I would say, Carlos. We have 1, 2, then 3, 4, 5, and then 6 and 7. 3 little packs there, but these 3 packs are very close together as Beto Grassi is able to open a little bit more. We are close to lap 17 where these cars will have to stop. Well, they have 8 minutes to stop starting lap 17. Let's see what they decide. And Nelson Piquet Jr. is right behind Marcelo Salas, Guilherme Salas, and Nelson Piquet Jr. gets the third position. Great work by third position, and a battle behind them. Wow! Nicolas Costa and Ricardo Zonta. What a battle there. It looked like Nicolas Costa got the position, but then Zonta was able to recuperate, so he stays ahead of Nicolas Costa. Wow, Carlos, it's thrilling this race so far.
It's quite thrilling indeed, quite difficult to breathe and to commentate as well in the back of the grid. Whoa!
Someone went wide there.
Silvio Barros, I think. But anyway, the most important thing about that fight for the lead positions there, I think it was when Enzo Elias closed the door and Hellmeister went a bit wide. I don't think it was anything to be checked by the stewards, in my opinion, racing incident, but that was the calls that put Enzo, actually Alan Heilmeister, in the grass actually for a bit of a moment there. But anyway, he lost a couple of spots, but it seems his car is okay. Maybe some damage in the floor, but anyway, these cars are very reliable and they can resist a lot of things. And then Nicolas Costa actually doing something very similar to what Enzo Elias did when he tried to overtake Beto Gressi. He went a little bit wide, and then the other car was able to reclaim the position. In that case, it was Nicolas Costa versus Ricardo Zonta. Zonta is still ahead, and Piquet Jr. with a good pace.
Yeah, he's trying now to overtake Enzo Elias for the second position. Not yet. Alan Helmeister goes on the outside, goes almost side by side with Guilherme Salas, but he also is not able to get the position from Guilherme Salas. He stays in fifth. He got third at certain one point of the race. After that contact, he fell a little bit behind, but it seems that his car is okay, Carlos, which is the most important for him and for Miguel Paludo. Ricardo Zonta is still in sixth, and Nicolas Costa and Giorgio Frangulis are behind them.
Yeah,
this is
but
Franco Giaffoni. Go ahead, Carlos.
No, as you said, a very tight, packed train of cars there. So it's very nice to see such a thrilling race, as you well defined. And so far, nothing nothing came actually from the stewards regarding the incident between Giaffoni and Lucas Salles, which, in my opinion, is a bit strange.
That was Galidio Osman overtaking Josimar Jr. for the 13th position. Great work by Galidio Osman. He's also a professional driver. In his case, they chose the best driver to start the race. And everybody's already preparing, Carlos, because we are in lap 16, and then when we start lap 17, we'll have the window for the mandatory pit stops. Alan Helmeister is right behind the car number 1 of Guilherme Salas. Again, Salas chooses the inside. Helmeister goes on the whites, goes wide, and Nelson Piquet Jr. lost a little bit of time there, but no overtaking again, as once more Nicolas Costa tries to overtake Ricardo Zonta behind him.
Yeah, I think this is the most important battle so far. Most important, I would say, but most tight battle there, because Nicolas Costa was able to overtake for a moment, then Ricardo Zonta retook the position, and whereas in the first positions there, Beto Gressi was attacked by Enzo Elias once, but Enzo, in this moment, he doesn't have the pace to attack Beto Gressi. So far, an interesting battle between Costa and Zonta, and one more crash.
Oh, again, another car. This is Attila Abreu or Leo Sanchez. It might be Leo Sanchez. Let me check. It's a car from both drivers, and that time was by himself.
Yeah.
It was Leo Sanchez.
No one to blame, just the driving mistake from Sanchez, which is a pity because that's an interesting duo of drivers. They have been racing together for a while already, Leonardo Sanchez and Attila Abreu. We didn't even see Attila hitting the track. Probably the car won't be fixed, and since it is a driving mistake, probably he won't get the spare car there. So that's a shame, and Beto Gressi is still ahead. It seems that Enzo Elias has pitted. That's it.
Yeah, Enzo Elias has pitted, as well as car number 1 of Guilherme Salas, being driven by Guilherme Salas. They both pitted. So we have first place Beto Gressi, second place, the safety car. Come on, Beto Gressi, wait a little bit, slow down. So we have the second entrance of the race car. And
strange.
Yeah.
It seems that
going to be ahead of number 87, Nicolas Costa.
Theoretically, he has to be ahead of the race leader. We don't know if the safety car will overtake the cars ahead, or the cars will rejoin the pack in one more lap. But it's strange because we didn't have the signal of the safety car being deployed, and then all of a sudden we saw that the safety car was actually quite side by side with Beto Gressi there. But anyway, that has an impact in terms of strategy as well, because the guys that pitted before the safety car, of course, they lose time. The guys that will pit after the safety car is deployed, they will gain advantage for sure.
Yes. So different strategies, and it's very interesting that the safety car comes exactly when we have the first window for the pit stops. We see that the drivers are waiting there. They have to stay 6 minutes on the pit. So, of course, the time that they take to change the driver
Okay.
and do whatever they have to do, any adjustments or change tires or anything they might be able to do. Of course, it takes less than 6 minutes.
Isso, exatamente. Acabei de falar com o Átila, ele falou, estamos vendo se ele consegue dar ré, tirar o carro e voltar para a pista. Mas ele estava pronto aqui para entrar e fazer a troca também. Vamos aguardar.
Place, let's put this way, to have a battle between cars stopping there. It would be just crazy, Carlos.
Yeah, and we heard from Renata Diniz, our pit reporter. She was saying that Attila Abreu, that is the partner of Leonardo Sanchez, he was waiting to get in the car, and he's waiting to see if Leonardo Sanchez is able to reverse there, get the car back to the track, get out of the tire barrier there, and rejoin the pack to go to the pits, so that Attila could start his stint. But it seems that the car is a little bit wrecked there. I don't know if it will be possible for Sanchez to return. And we saw that Attila Abreu is actually with his helmet waiting, but it doesn't seem to be a good situation for this duo of drivers, as we see that the clock is ticking for the pit window there. And of course, as I said, the guys that pitted first prior to the safety car, they lost a little bit of ground, even though we have to remember that they have this mandatory time of driver change in these pit stops of the endurance series in Porsche Brazil, as we see that the car is being rescued there. No chance that the car will rejoin the race.
Yeah, no way. No way. We see before that Alceu Feldman is already on car number 1. On car number 544, we saw already Marcel Miller was inside the car. So these two teams decided to change of drivers in this first stint. As I said before, strategy may vary. Some team might choose to have one driver races the first two stints and the other driver the stints 3 and 4, but so far that's what we've seen. Of course, we'll have to wait. There is a good public there. These are the VIP part of Interlagos. These are the guests, the hospitality suites that stay there right above the pits, so the guests can see what's going on with the drivers, with the change of cars. So it's a very nice place, definitely, to watch the race. And some cars are already going back. But I wonder, Carlos, because the order there, it was not exactly the order we had when we had the safety car, because some cars behind the pack had stopped already. And of course, they are returning before, because they already took their 6 minutes. So, as you said, these guys who started before, they might have lost one lap. At the end of the day, they might have lost one lap. So, the race director will really have lots of work to do to find out who is ahead. Of course, we have the timing, it's all electronic and everything. It's
the system.
The system. But anyway, that would be interesting to see. We will have to pay attention to that.
Yeah, but that's part of the game. They didn't have luck in terms of timing the pit stop, pitted prior to the safety car, and of course they rejoin the track when we have the yellow flag, so that they cannot push. And in theory, they lose time compared to the cars that pitted right after the safety car. And the ideal situations for these cars that have pitted right after the safety car is that we have the green flag right away, and it seems to be the case. I think it's green flag already.
Exactly. Let's wait. And I wonder, we see a kind of see a battle there, but I think we are still under safety car. Let's double check.
I
Anyway,
think not.
not so. We are already on the green
We
flag.
don't
That's
see
good.
the signal
Yeah.
of the safety car, so I believe
It's
it's
true.
not.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Chamei. Tô aqui com o Beto Gressi,
My mistake.
que já cumpriu
So,
a primeira parte do
it's- they're
stint
competing
e
already.
liderou do começo ao
And we
fim. Que
saw
ultrapassagem
car
foi
number
aquela? Eu vim
one
aqui perguntei pro Lineu. Lineu, isso já
back to
estava
the track
ensaiado?
ahead of-
O Beto
ahead
falou
of
que ia
the
fazer isso ou não? Falou, não, ele não falou, mas eu já estava deduzindo, eu já tinha desconfiado. Cara, que belíssima ultrapassagem, que largada bonita, limpa que foi. E você conseguiu dominar mesmo com safety, com tudo.
Sem dúvida, foi um bom começo, melhor que a gente esperava até. Você tendo ali na segunda fila, a gente optou por eu largar, a gente imaginou que mais profissionais iriam largar mesmo na frente, tentar pôr um ritmo bom, conseguir fazer a ultrapassagem na largada, manter a liderança. Infelizmente o safety não é muito bom pra gente, era uma dúvida que a gente tinha, mas faz parte da prova, tem uma corrida longa ainda pela frente, com certeza, tudo pode acontecer, mas estou feliz com o resultado. Dei uns toques agora, falei um pouquinho do carro pro Lineu, que já começou a mudar de comportamento, vamos ver como é que a gente vai seguir aí nessa prova.
Tem isso também, 300 quilômetros, o carro vai mudando muito ao longo da prova.
Não, com certeza, os freios já mudam um pouquinho a eficiência e um pouco do comportamento do carro com o pneu usado. Eu acabei não conseguindo fazer um long run nos treinos, então acabou que...
Epa, momento de tensão aqui na saída de box. Valeu. Luke, com você aí.
Yeah, we heard there from Beto Gressi, and we see that pit window is now closed, so everyone has to hit the track once more. Of course, if someone has not pitted, then
Foi tenso aqui, foi
disqualification, but I
tenso.
believe
Mas valeu,
everything
Betinho falou com a gente.
is okay. And Beto Gressi was highlighting his race start. The first stint was better for them that compared with what they imagined prior to the race, because he was able to get the race lead as we see that the race resumes. But anyway, he was pointing that the safety car wasn't that good for them, especially because he's a pro driver and Lineu Pires theoretically is not that experienced. So in theory, Beto Gressi lost a bit of time off green flag there. That is exactly what we were talking about when the safety car was deployed, Sergio. And he also mentioned the fact that the car changes throughout the race because of the tire degradation, heating of the brakes, that kind of stuff. So he was reporting the current situation of the car to Lineu Pires as well.
Yeah, we see the battle. We have to wait to see who actually is ahead of the pack. But we saw as actually we are seeing car number 1 ahead of number 544. So that's an interesting battle. And we have number 8 there that might be in the battle as well. It's Roman Zinkiewicz and Nelson Piquet Jr. And now we see 544 with driver Marcel Miller getting ahead of Alceu Feldman. And Marcel Miller actually overtakes number 8. I believe it's Roman Zinkiewicz in car number 8, Carlos. Because it doesn't look like Nelson Piquet Jr. will double check that. I still have Nelson Piquet Jr. here, but I believe it's Roman Zinkiewicz. Nelson Piquet Jr., it would be harder for him to be overtaking, I would say. That's a guess, because we know he's a very aggressive driver and a very good one as well.
Yeah, I agree. And of course, it takes some time for the live timing screen to update who is inside each car. So maybe that's the case. Roman Zinkiewicz driving in the place of Nelson Piquet Jr. and an incident there, car number 139 of Sergio Brasil, if I'm not wrong. And car number 5, I think it was, Sergio.
Yes, number 5 is Marcelo Tomassoni and Gerson Campos. That was the pole position for the sprint challenge. As we see there, Alceu Feldman for sure is in car number 1. We still double check, but it seems like it's Roman Zinkiewicz. And Alceu Feldman gets the position. But at this point, Marcel Miller is way ahead of Alceu Feldman. We barely see Marcel Miller here on the screen, and then Roman Zinkiewicz gets behind them.
Yeah, and this is the fight for the lead, I believe. Zonta No, Werner Neugebauer. We have to check if Werner got the drive, but
Yeah, it's Miguel Paludo and Werner Neugebauer. It's one first.
yeah,
It's
that's
one
it.
first, and then Marcel Miller that we were watching before. He's in third. He's right there. He's not
Close.
that far. Yes, he's very close. So now we have it clear, and as we see also, the live timing is there, so it got all corrected. So at the end, Alan Hellmeister wait a little bit to stop. That was a good stop for him and for Miguel Paludo, as we see a problem with the car number 133 of Israel Salman and Rafael Martins. Let's hope he gets out of this position. And Werner Neugebauer is all over Miguel Paludo. The first four cars, Carlos, are adversaries in the Porsche Cup Sprint Championship. It's Miguel Paludo, Werner Neugebauer, Marcel Miller, and Alceu Feldman. They all compete in the Sprint Championship, as well as Giorgio Frangoulis, who is in the 5th place.
Yeah, and we see that Cesar Ramos, that is the partner of Jorge Frangoulis, did a very good job promoting the car to the 5th spot there. And as you said, a good rivalry ahead of the pack there. Paludo, Neugebauer, Miller, and Feldman. And we have to highlight what Alan Hellmeister was able to do as well, also with a good race start. It was not just Beto Gressi, but Hellmeister had a very good race start as well. And now they are quite close to each other, the top three especially. Alceu Feldman is a bit behind, but Paludo, Neugebauer, and Miller, they are quite close. So we might see a very decisive stint in this moment. And I got a confirmation here, it's Roman Dziękiewicz in the car, not Nelson Piquet Jr.
Great. We just saw Alan Kodair get one position with number 16. He overtook Eduardo Menossi. Eduardo Menossi is a regular of the Porsche Sprint Championship, and it's not the case with Alan Kodair. Alan Kodair is a professional driver. Not that we don't have professional drivers in the Porsche Sprint Championship, but that's the case between these two drivers. As we see another battle there between Sérgio Ramalho and Nelson Monteiro, and Ramalho gets the position. So Sérgio Ramalho gets the position. Sérgio Ramalho, who is racing with Josimar Jr. in the Porsche number 27. Oh, let's see. No, is it number 1? No, it's not number 1.
No, number 1 is
no.
Feldman.
Yeah. It's a different, because it's yellow ahead there. So
but I didn't see which number it was. We have to see the replay. And the car has to get out. 130. Yeah, 133. Is it Salman currently in the car? Let's check.
Oh, you had another problem there, right at the same spot with number 85 of Eduardo Menossi and Pedro Boesel. There might be something there, Carlos, going on.
Yes.
As it's the second driver that has a problem exactly at that point. So we have a yellow flag there. So I wonder if we're going to have another safety car. Yeah, we have another safety car. There is a problem. Something is going on there, Carlos, because if one driver spins, it's fine, but two drivers in the same spot, I don't know, there might be some oil, something going on there. And for sure, the track organization, the race organization is going to verify exactly what's going on.
Yeah, and that was Menossi. But yeah, two separate incidents, as you said. And that's an indication that something might be wrong in that sector of the track, as you said. And it is Salman in the car 133, as we thought, and Menossi, is it Menossi or his partner? It is Menossi from what I see in the live timing screen. He is racing with Pedro Boesel, but theoretically this safety car should be quick. Let's wait and see if the race marshals there close to that sector of the track, they verify anything different. But anyway, the rescue process shouldn't take that long, because there's no damage to any tire barrier or something like that, as we see the onboard camera of Rubens Barrichello.
So that's Rubens Barrichello. So far, an eventful race. That's the third safety car hitting the track. Let's wait. So I hope this is going to be a fast safety car. Actually, the second one was fast as well. It didn't take that long. Only the first one that we had the heavy hit of Lucas Salles in the tire barrier that we really had a long safety car. The other two were fast. We have Miguel Paludo in the first position, then Werner Neugebauer, Marcel Miller, Cesar Ramos in fourth, then Alceu Feldman, Roman Zinkiewicz, Dudu Barrichello is in seventh. He races with his brother Fefo Barrichello, and then guess who is behind him, Carlos? His father, Rubens Barrichello. That's big responsibility for Dudu Barrichello, have his father behind him.
Yeah, that's nice. And Rubens has always said that he dreams to race, endurance racing actually, with his kids. Of course, now he's partnering with Franco Giaffoni, but anyway, it's an emotional moment, even though he's not racing together with his kids, but one ahead of each other there. Eduardo Barrichello, that has raced in Freca recently, now teammate of Rubens in the Stock Car Pro Series full-time sports team, and Fefo Barrichello, Fernando, that is racing currently in the United Arab Emirates, Formula 4 Championship. He has raced in Brazilian F4 last year, so that's an interesting moment as we see Nelson Piquet Jr. already outside of the car. A very good first stint for Nelson. Let's see if Roman will be able to give the car back to Piquet in a good situation in terms of track position.
Yeah, right now he is in the sixth position, Roman Zinkiewicz. Let's hope the safety car turns his lights off during this lap. We want to see racing lap 24 of 70. Number 133. Oh, they got a new car for the 133. That's a reserve car for Israel Salman and Rafael Martins. So that's good. They are from the Challenge Rookie category. Porsche has reserve cars for the drivers in case there is a problem that's out of the driver's control. I mean, not an accident. And I believe that Porsche deemed that was the situation in the case of the car 133. So that's why they got Israel Salman right now is driving, and that's why they got the reserve car, which I think is a very cool, nice thing to do, because actually, for those who don't know the Porsche Cup very well, it's a one team. At least in Brazil, it's one team. It's one main team. That's the Porsche Cup Brazil. And that's this team that prepares the cars for all the drivers. Of course, each driver has its engineer, a mechanic that usually goes with these drivers for the racetrack. That these are the same. It's not that each time is a different engineer or a different mechanic. But overall, when the cars are together at the Porsche headquarters, they are taken care by everybody. So we'll have the restart of the race. Miguel Paludo has Werner Neugebauer and Marcel Miller right behind him. Great start by Werner Neugebauer. He's behind Paludo. Paludo protects the inside. Marcel Miller and Werner Neugebauer go on the outside. Oh, Miguel Paludo runs a little bit wide. Marcel Miller goes on the outside. Miguel Paludo stays in the first position. Werner stays in the second one. Marcel Miller stays in third. Great work by them with Cesar Ramos right behind them. Goes inside, Werner Neugebauer. Miguel Paludo again protects the inside. Marcel Miller goes on the outside. That's a good battle, side by side. Marcel Miller goes wide. Miguel Paludo is able to hold the first position, but he's being pressured all over by Marcel Miller. Werner Neugebauer loses position. Marcel Miller has the inside. He has to take away a little bit, hit the brakes, and then Werner Neugebauer might lose the third position for number 88 of Cesar Ramos. They are side by side. Werner Neugebauer, he stays in third position. Cesar Ramos is fourth. What a great start, what a great battle. But at the end, Miguel Paludo stays in first up to now. Marcel Miller goes from third to second, and Werner Neugebauer, Carlos, falls from second to third.
And almost lost position for Cesar Ramos as well. And it is indeed Cesar Ramos. I thought in the first moment that it was Georgios Frangoulis, but Frangoulis was driving in the first stint. And we see this is the capital moment of the fight so far, because Marcel Miller goes a bit wide, and he doesn't care that much and doesn't return to the track in the first moment, and he tries to overtake using the outside the track. Actually, he wasn't in the track, and now goes Cesar Ramos.
Cesar Ramos, great work. Werner Neugebauer tries to go on the outside, and Cesar Ramos, they are side by side. Werner Neugebauer would have the inside, but not able. Cesar Ramos is now third. Werner Neugebauer falls to fourth, and then we have Dudu Barrichello right behind them. Great work by Dudu Barrichello, while Marcel Miller is all behind Miguel Paludo. Great battle. These guys are rivals from the Porsche Cup. The last few years, they've been battling for the win. They've been battling for championship side by side. They know each other very, very well. And this is the battle only in lap 26. Think about it. We have a little bit over 1/3 of the race. And this is the battle we're watching in this first race of the Porsche Cup Endurance Championship 2023 Brazilian Porsche Cup. Carlos, what a show these guys are putting to us.
Yeah, definitely. We have to highlight, and that's the good thing of having drivers that know each other ahead of the pack, because they know the limit. They go close to the edge, but not over the edge in terms of fighting each other or being too aggressive. So they can measure what they are doing. And we see that we had a very fierce battle, but a clean battle between Paludo and Marcel Miller, and the same is for Neugebauer and Ramos and these drivers. But anyway, we have to highlight the fact that the regulations in terms of pit stops, they worked already, Sergio, because we know what is happening.
Yeah, and look at Cesar Ramos, very aggressive.
Atualizou?
Gets the second position from Marcel Miller. Is very fast. Cesar Ramos doing a great work there with the car number 88. He partners with Giorgio Frangoulis. What a race by Cesar Ramos so far. Well, we see again Miguel Paludo trying to defend himself. Cesar Ramos goes on the wide side, goes wide, not wide. He goes on the outside, pardon me. He gets second for Marcel Miller. Miguel Paludo is under total pressure there, and now he has Cesar Ramos behind him. But if these guys do anything wrong, Marcel Miller is right there in third place.
Yeah, and what an overtaking maneuver by Cesar Ramos. Of course, benefiting from the fact that the outside line there was clear for him, because Marcel Miller was trying to attack in the inside line, and in a way Miguel Paludo helped Ramos a bit, because he closed the door in the inside line there, and Miller got a bit sandwiched there, if you can say so, because he couldn't go to any of the sides. And Miguel Paludo, what a drive so far in terms of defending his lead position, suffering attacks from Miller, from Ramos now, and very good race. And I was going to highlight the fact that the new regulations for the pit stops, they are good, because we know what is happening in terms of track position, because it is the real situation indeed, since the cars, they make their pit stop, their driver changes in a similar time frame there, the pit window that has the limit. And of course we don't get lost when we watch an endurance race, which is very common actually, because endurance races, they are very long, and in terms of strategy it's a bit crazy. But now I think they got the right mix, the right set of regulations for this event, Sergio.
A very, very good point, I would say, Carlos, because usually when the pit stops, they can do any time. We pass periods where it's hard to say who is leading, because there are 3-4 laps difference, even more, between certain drivers. Before, certain teams would their first pit stop, other drivers would have done too, and there goes Roman Zinkiewicz. There goes Roman Zinkiewicz. Ouch, what a position for him. Let's hope he gets out of there. Yeah, he's able to stay on the track, but that's a big blow for team number 80. And also we see a problem with number 25. Let's see what happened there. Roman Zinkiewicz. The touch was from the 555 or?
No, I don't think so.
No, not really, right? Not really, no.
This angle isn't that good because if there's any touch, it's from the car that is behind that purple car, car number 555. That is the golden car there. I don't believe there was a touch. Whoa, let's see.
For the first position, again, Miguel Paludo defend himself. He's able to defend from Cesar Ramos. But what a battle. We have Marcel Miller in third. And I was going to say before, Carlos, Dudu Barrichello is in a strong fourth position. Right behind Marcel Miller. Oh, touch the brake, goes outside. What a bad moment by Cesar Ramos. He loses second and third position. He forced it too much, Carlos.
Yeah, but we have to say that he was very skilled in order to avoid the crash, losing one more position. Because, of course, he had to hit the brakes. Let's check. Drive-through penalty for speeding in the exit of the pit lane for car number 3. So that's a penalty for Rubens.
That's for Rubens Barrichello, yeah.
Yeah, weird because no problem. But that's weird because we don't have a penalty for what Franco Giaffoni did with Lucas Salles, and now, of course, if he speeded, and it seems to be the case, he has to be penalized. But anyway, Cesar Ramos was very skilled in order to avoid the crashes. We see the first moment of the battle in this lap, and then after this set of corners, turn 1 there, the first leg of the CNSs, turn 2. They go to the sun turn, as we call in Brazil, even though it's not sun turn anymore because the layout has reversed the turn there. And now he tries to overtake in the inside line, but he sees that he's too fast, excessively fast, and now in that moment, actually, he had to brake, avoiding the contact. Whoa.
Oh, again, he's having a problem right now. I don't think he's in a good moment. Probably his tires got hurt there.
Flat spot.
And he's losing position. He lost the position to Rubens Barrichello, number 3, and he might yet lose other position. Has a pack of cars behind him. Wow, it's we have Alceu Feldman who lost many positions. Carlos, he after the pit stops, he was what, top 3, top 4? And now he's way behind, 4th. Another driver we have to pay attention, Carlos, is Caio Collet. Caio Collet, who's advancing, and we might see him getting ahead soon. He's in the spec there.
Yeah, but a lot of cars, so the job is quite tricky there. And in this moment ahead of Alceu Feldman, which is interesting. And now one more, it was a mistake there. Once more, Cesar Ramos, I think so, the purple car of Oakberry. Yes, it was.
Yeah. Yeah, Caio Collet is already in the 11th position because Silvio Barros lost a few positions. While we see there Peter Ferter in the 56 trying to battle. Ricardo Maurício is in the 555. It's a very strong driver as well. Trying to get one more position. Ricardo Maurício, who races with Eamon Darwich. Eamon Darwich lost his best time during qualifying. He went to the track in the wrong moment, so he was penalized with his best time. And it seems that Cesar Ramos again, Carlos. Is it him? Yeah, he's in real trouble, Cesar Ramos.
I think he flat spotted the tires because we all know Cesar Ramos, teammate of Thiago Camilo in the Stock Car Pro Series, one of the most accomplished drivers of Brazil as a whole, and he's very competitive and very consistent.
Tô aqui no box dele, acabei de falar com o Carrapa, tá sem ABS. Aí eles estão aqui numa movimentação para acho que decidir qual é a melhor conduta a tomar nesse momento.
Yeah, they don't have the ABS braking system in the car, so no control, no management when he hits the brake. That's what explains the fact that he's losing ground. Ruben Carrapatoso, the race engineer for both Jorge Strangoulis and Cesar Ramos, informed Renata Diniz that the car has this problem, as we see there.
It's the car from Paulo Totaro and Matheus Roque.
Yeah, one piece of the rear wing flying a bit there, but nothing worrying, it seems. And Marcel Miller got close once more.
Yes, this is a great battle. We have Marcel Miller behind Miguel Paludo, and then we have the number 111 from Dudu Barrichello. Dudu Barrichello doing a great race. Werner Neugebauer is 4th. And then we have Rubens Barrichello in 5th. And we saw a flag there, Carlos, I believe is the first 40% of the race. We see that yellow and
Yes.
black checkered flag. It shows because if you could explain, Carlos, point system, since last year, the races are divided in 2. So at the end of the championship with 2 races, we have 6 segments that give points, first segment of each race, and then at the end of the race. So at the end of the season, the drivers can discard their worst results.
Yeah, there were segments as well, which is interesting
Yes.
because it allows a lot of strategies in terms of discarding the points or the worst results in terms of points in their segments. So that's why we had that checkered black and yellow flag, and Paludo then won the first stage. I don't remember the amount of points, but this is very
Informação é que o carro
important
do
in
César
terms
Ramos
of
está vindo para
championship.
box, eles vão fazer um pit stop agora. A equipe toda se
I
movimentando
believe
aqui
it's
já.
40% of the points, Carlos. It's
Yeah.
40% of the points.
And one important information, as we see the confirmation of the result of the first stage of the race, Paludo winning ahead of Miller, Renata Diniz was informing that César Ramos is going to the pits to fix that issue with the car, maybe getting a spare car, because I don't believe it will be easy to fix an ABS issue in the car. As we see one touch between César Ramos and Miguel Paludo, in my view, a racing incident, and I don't know if that's the reason why the ABS system has had this issue. But anyway, it's a safety issue. That's why they are pitting, and maybe they get the spare car.
And we are close to the second pit window. It starts at the beginning of lap 34. So as soon as Miguel Paludo crosses the line, we will have an 8-minute window for all the cars to make their second mandatory pit stop. So far we have Miguel Paludo, Marçal Miller, Dudu Barrichello, Werner Neugbauer, and Josimar Jr. is in the 5th position. Then we have Alan Kodair, William Freire, and Caio Collet already moved to the 8th position. So again, great work by Caio Collet. Ricardo Maurício is in 9th. They are in that group behind the group we saw on our left side. This is the group of the first 4 cars. Then we will have here behind, 5th a little bit isolated, which is Josimar Jr., and then racing pretty much together, Alan Corraia, William Freire, Caio Collet, and Ricardo Maurício.
And we see there Fernando Fefo Barrichello preparing to go back to the car that is currently being driven by his older brother. Eduardo Enzo Elias also preparing to get back to the car. And I was anxious to see Ricardo Mauricio's stint, and we see why. Already P9 for the 3-time Stock Car Pro Series champion. And we also have to give credit to Ayman Darvic, because he got a clean stint in the first one, out of trouble, and then he gave the car to one of the most competitive drivers of this whole grid, I would say. Ricardo Mauricio is not that famous abroad, but he is a former member of the Red Bull Junior team, for example. So he was one of the few selected drivers by Dr. Helmut Marko in the end of the 90s and the beginning of the 2000s to represent the Red Bull brand, even prior to the team getting in the Formula 1. But we had a lot of sponsorship and that kind of thing. So good stint so far by Rubens, and very nice race so far in different parts of the pack. Let's see if the speed window reshuffles a bit, but we cannot expect so, even though there's always the possibility of some mistake in the pit stops, but it doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah, but we've seen, Carlos, in the first pit stop that there were changes of position. Some cars that, for example, car number 1 left ahead of car number 544, and car 544 was ahead of car number 1.
But we had the safety car.
Stopped. Yeah, but I think they stopped together, I believe, at the same time.
That's true.
Yeah, because they left together. Yes, they left one behind the other.
That's true.
Remember, that was a battle, so they went at the same time. So we can see a little bit of a change, and Miguel Paludo goes to the pits.
But it was also down to the fact that Feldman had a poor start in his stint. He lost ground and he got a bit behind. But of course, in theory, this pit window, it will be a little bit more standard, if you can say so, because we don't have the deployment of the safety car. But you are right, they pitted together cars number 544 and cars number 1. The stint done by Guilherme Salas was good. Alceu Feldman struggled a bit. And now Hellmeister probably will get back to the car number 7 with the Brent sponsorship there.
We have 1 hour and 12 minutes approximately of race. Maximum time is 2.5 hours, but we already are in the middle of the race. So probably we won't go, as we said in the beginning of the transmission. It's very rare in these Porsche Cup Brazil endurance races that we go to the time. We usually end up with the laps or with the kilometers, the 300 kilometers, and that's what it seems to be happening so far. We had already 3 safety cars, which definitely made this first part of the race a little bit slower, but let's wait and see the second half. We might not even have any safety car, which will make it faster. In this case, the second part of the race. There are 3 mandatory pit stops. We are in the second mandatory pit stop. The third mandatory pit stop and final one will be after lap 52.
Yeah, and we saw Franco Giaffoni already returning to the car. And now Ricardo that's Marcel Miller pitting. Enzo Elias will take the wheel.
And Dudu Barrichello stays on the track. So Dudu Barrichello will try to get clean air to do a fast lap. We see him all by himself. Of course, the drivers he was battling with, they already pitted. So we'll see. That will be interesting because this is a race, Carlos, because what we saw, Miguel Paludo went first. What did Marcel Miller try to do? He tried to do a fast lap, so he would be faster than Miguel Paludo. And when Miguel Paludo returns, and then, of course, he'll be ahead, but then Marcel Miller returns, and he might return ahead of Miguel Paludo. So that will be interesting, or I mean the car, because pretty much as we've seen, Carlos, they are changing drivers in every stint.
Yeah, and in terms of strategy, it is that very well-known trade-off between overcut and undercut that motorsport fans already know from Formula 1 and other racing series, as we see Miguel Paludo talking to his crew there, certainly giving some feedback about the car. One more pit stop for car number 25. I believe that Paulo Souza will go back to the car. Number 25 was being driven by Khalid Osman. And also the purple car here to the left, I think Nicolas Costa's car, didn't confirm. But anyway, it's an interesting situation. And the race is open, which is the most important side thing, actually, Sergio, because we don't know, given the fact that we still have a lot of racing to come and different stints, who has a better situation. They almost touched each other there.
Almost, yes.
Yeah.
It was Josimar Jr. and,
Kodair, I think.
Kodair, yeah, it was Alan Kodair, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, Kodair was very close to the limit there because he doesn't have to respect the speed limit until he crosses that white line. But anyway, he was able to avoid contact. But it's a bit early in terms of thinking about tire management making the difference. We have to wait and see until the final parts of the race, but we have 3 drivers, to say the least, that have good conditions of winning this race. Miguel Paludo, Marcel Miller, and Werner Bauer wasn't that far. Let's see if Ricardo Zonta has a good stint. He might get close to this fight for the race win. So very interesting scenario so far, and this car has to rebound a bit. Guilherme Salas has a tough job ahead of his stint, as we see Peter Ferter that is partnering with Diego Nunes. Diego Nunes, winner of the Interlagos 500 kilometers race last year, the season finale of the Endurance Championship, but Diego Nunes in that occasion was partnering with Christian Hahn that isn't racing this time.
That's Guilherme Salas coming to return to the track after the 6-minute pit stop. So let's see. Alceu Feldman, who was driving this Porsche number 1, lost quite some time during his stint. It was not the best stint for him. We see returning to the track as well Nasser Abutaif or Sang Hokin. We still have to confirm which drivers are there. We have to wait a little bit for the live timing to be sure. And Alan Hellmeister on the right side of our screen is already ready to come back. I believe he went to the pits in the second opportunity he had after the window started. So he probably is about to go back to the track as well.
Yeah, he extended his stint in the first pit stop compared to Miller and Elias. In that case, it was Elias in the wheel, and also Feldman and Salas that had Salas in the wheel in the first stint, and now period with also Feldman and Salas back to the car, as is Alan Hellmeister. Let's wait and see how the cars will be in terms of track position after the completion of this pit window.
Yeah, Werner Neugebauer is right behind Alan Hellmeister. Actually, probably it's Ricardo Zonta right now in car number 8.
Yeah, Zonta was driving in the first stint, so that's probably him.
Let's see where car number 7 will be in comparison to car number 1, car number 8 as well. And that was Marcel Miller. So Enzo Elias is back on the car number 544. So pretty much, I would say all the teams, Carlos, maybe with a few exceptions, we don't know, we can't check really all the teams, but they chose to alternate the drivers in the different stints. As we saw also Dudu Barrichello already out of the car, seeing his brother Fefo Barrichello inside the Porsche 111.
Yeah, and I was seeing here for Rubens, the good thing is that always he will have one of his kids to chat when he's outside the car, and the most experienced one in this case, that is Eduardo. Even though Rubens obviously has to be focused on Franco Giaffoni's performance, pit window closed, so the guys have to go back to the track, of course, wait to complete the 6 minutes mandatory pit time there, and then go back to the track. But anyway, everyone has pitted, and then in a few moments we will have the real situation of the race, as we have
Enzo Elias going back to the track. Alan Hellmeister is defending himself from Zonta, but Enzo Elias is going back to the track, and I believe it seems Enzo Elias will get ahead of these two. Let's check. They have the hold straight. Alan Hellmeister tries to defend the inside. Ricardo Zonta goes on the outside. And let's wait. Oh, great move by Ricardo Zonta. Gets the position from Alan Hellmeister. Gets the position, and Enzo Elias is way ahead of them, Carlos. So yeah, Enzo Elias, the car 544 that was right behind Miguel Paludo with the driver Marcel Miller, now is way ahead, I would say. He is way ahead in the, so far, I would say, first position. Great work, great decision by the team of the 544, as Alan Hellmeister loses the position to Ricardo Zonta.
Yeah, the overcut strategy paid off for car number 544, as you said. And the good thing, especially for Enzo Elias, that is going back to the track in this lap and theoretically has cold tires, is that Zonta and Hellmeister, they are battling between themselves so that they lose time. Because let's put it that way, if Zonta or even Hellmeister had a clean track for them, clean air, and no one to worry about, they in theory would have a better performance in the very first moment, because they already have their tires heated, so they could close the gap to Elias. But now Elias benefits from the fact that Zonta and Hellmeister, they are battling, as we see him activating the lights for the back marker there. But anyway, let's see if Zonta will be able to dispatch Hellmeister there, but it seems that the fight will proceed at least for a bit.
Yeah, so far prevails car number 8 with Ricardo Zonta over car number 7 with Alan Hellmeister, but ahead of them is Enzo Elias. Enzo Elias started in the pole position, so that was a Great work by them. They end up losing the first position right at the beginning to Beto Grassi, but I would say they just recuperated the lead, even though we have to wait for Fefo Barrichello to return to the track. Number 3 excluded from the race. What a strong penalty, Carlos. Number 3, that touch that Franco Giaffoni gave, you were watching it now in Lucas Salles. He was excluded from the race. Too bad for Rubens Barrichello, who was also driving car number 3. Wow, that was strong, Carlos. Well deserved.
I think so. You may think that it is a harsh penalty, but when you consider the importance of the mistake, also in terms of the consequences for the race, it makes sense, the disqualification, the exclusion of the car number 3 from the race. But I'm wondering here, why did they take so long to communicate the penalty? Did they wait for Rubens to race a stint? It seems to be the case, because it's obvious that they already had something in mind in terms of penalizing the car. But I believe that's it. They wanted to see Rubens racing a bit, and it was nice because Rubens had a good stint. But anyway, it makes sense, the penalty.
Look at car 111. Fefo Barrichello is ahead of... he's ahead of number 544 of Enzo
leading the
Elias.
race.
That was the best statics, but we have to wait, because as you said, he has colder tires, and there comes Rubens is watching his son. There comes Enzo Elias. Enzo Elias is way more experienced than Fefo, we know that. I'm not comparing their skills, but Enzo Elias is used to race with Porsche cars. Fefo Barrichello, first contact with a Porsche car in racing Porsche car was during this weekend, and goes wild Marcel Miller. Goes wide Enzo Elias, in the 544. He loses moment, and then Alan Hellmeister and Ricardo Zonta are able to catch them. Now we have again a 4 drivers battle for the first position, Carlos.
Yeah, and Eduardo closed the door there quite aggressively. I don't think it's something to be reviewed by the stewards. Racing incident, he had the inside line there. Even though he closed the door a little bit aggressively, if you see the replay, you see that he didn't leave a space of 1 car, but we are not talking about open wheel racing. So, but now, well,
he lost the position already.
Yeah, I didn't see it was in the beginning of the main straight. Did you see the overtaking maneuver?
No, the image didn't show.
But anyway,
or we missed it, or the image didn't show.
Luque.
But anyway.
Olha, eu vou falar uma coisa. Na quinta-feira, eu tava acompanhando os treinos aqui. O Rubinho tava assim, ó, tremendo, vendo os meninos na pista. Eu acho que durante a corrida, se ele ainda estivesse na corrida, ele não ia ficar tão tenso. Mas agora, sobrou pra ele aqui ficar assistindo. Olha como ele tá.
Olha lá, meu Deus.
Mas, eles estão indo muito bem.
Olha, eu já falei, né? Interlagos eu tenho uma gratidão eterna. Vocês me desculpem, eu tô dando uma olhadinha ali, porque o Fefo tá...
Tudo bem, tudo bem.
ele tá com o pneu frio ainda e tal, mas olha, eu falei pra ele, vai com calma. O seu setor agora é perder o menos tempo possível pra
Josimar Júnior.
Pra quando vier o final, aí lutar por posição. Então é importante que ele saiba lidar com as dificuldades. Tem muita gente forte agora. A gente sabe, olha quem tá atrás dele. Zonta, né? Que, andou comigo na Fórmula 1, que tá assim, então, cara, não tem... E quanto a nós, é uma pena. A gente sabe, o Franco não tinha intenção nenhuma de fazer isso, mas não tem jeito. Quando há um toque desse e o companheiro acaba ficando fora, não tem muito o que fazer. Então era de se esperar. Uma pena muito grande, porque a gente estava bem, estava competitivo, mas dói no coração. Agora torcer para essa molecada. Os meninos estão andando por pernas próprias, sabe? E isso... Vou parar de falar, senão eu choro.
Muito bom. Obrigada, Rubinho. Vai lá, que ele tá colado na TV aqui. Luque.
Great work there by Fefo Barrichello, recuperating the 3rd position from Alan Hellmeister. I believe it was a mistake from number 8 that went wide, and then Alan Hellmeister also went wide. while we see the problem with the number 27 of Josimar Jr. Go ahead, Carlos, pardon me, but I had to say what was going on there before you translate Ruben's interview.
No probs. A shame this puncture for Josimar. And as you said, Alan Hellmeister went a bit wide, so he overtook. He was able to pass, but he lost position. But anyway, it was interesting to see the fight for position involving Fefo Barrichello there, while we heard from Rubens, because he was talking actually about how grateful he is for sharing the tracks, the love for motorsport with his kids, and he was talking about the tips that he gave to his son, his younger kid, Fefo Barrichello, prior to this stint. And he was talking about the fact that he has to focus on his race because, of course, the overall stints, if you can say so, they will be more important than particular fights. And it was funny because Rubens was highlighting the level of the drivers that Fefo is facing as we see Hellmeister attacking Zonta, and it was exactly in the moment that Zonta passed Fefo Barrichello, Zonta who raced in Formula 1 against Rubens Barrichello. So we see that we have a battle of generations, and this particular battle there is very intense. Zonta is still ahead, and of course Rubens also talked about the disqualification, the exclusion of the car number 3 from the race. He said that it was fair, and it obviously wasn't on purpose by Franco Giaffoni.
We saw there Werner Neubauer watching the race between his teammates Ricardo Zonta in the Porsche number 8. Behind him is Alan Hellmeister. Hellmeister, at least to my opinion, Carlos, is faster, but just a tad faster, and he's in a way being held by Ricardo Zonta, which is doing nothing wrong. It's been a very, very clean battle. Zonta is doing what he has to do, and that benefits Enzo Elias, who is getting ahead of these two drivers, and he's increasing his distance for second place. So that's been going very well at this point, the race for car number 544, who increases his advantage, but we have a nice battle for second position, while Fefo falls a little bit behind.
Yeah, we see there another battle for position, but in a way, the same situation that we had when Elias returned to the track. He was ahead, but benefited from the fact that Zonta and Hellmeister were fighting each other. And we didn't talk about it because there was no time, but we have to praise Eduardo Barrichello's stint, because his work, his job, allowed Fefo Barrichello to go back to the track in the lead position. Of course, he has dropped already, but anyway, very good job done by Eduardo Barrichello, as you see a train of 5 cars there in the main straight.
Exactly, it's Eamon Derwich already off the pack. The green Porsche is Beto Bressi, who led in the beginning of the race.
Só uma informação, o carro do Josimar Júnior está indo para a área de apoio agora. Ele está caminhando para lá também. Acho que eles vão tentar fazer alguma alteração, porque está bem danificado, então eles vão tentar arrumar agora. Eu vou passando mais informações para vocês.
Yes, Renato was reporting the level of damage in Josimar Jr.'s car. He had that puncture, and he was saying that the pit crew there will try to fix the problem. But anyway, once more, I would like to praise Eduardo Barrichello's drive, and he's actually refocusing his career now, racing the Stock Car Pro Series, heavier cars, after a long period racing in single-seaters, open-wheel categories, and now it's completely different style of driving, and we see that in a way he resembles his father, that was very efficient, I would say, when he stopped racing in the IndyCar KV racing team, if I'm not wrong, alongside TK, to race in the stock cars, as we see once more the attack of Hellmeister. Sergio.
Let's see if Hellmeister can pull the overtake at this point. Ricardo Zonta is defending himself very well on the inside. Goes wild on Hellmeister. Not yet. It's been very hard. I would say mostly, Carlos, because Ricardo Zonta is defending himself very, very well. I'd like to point as well, the battle we were seeing before involved Nicolas Costa and Nelson Piquet Jr. So that was a very nice battle indeed. Two drivers who got behind, and now we see Nelson Piquet Jr. overtaking number 87 of Nicolas Costa. So Piquet Jr. was behind Nicolas Costa. We have Beto Grassi ahead of them, and tendency is that Piquet Jr., who is being very, very fast, will be able to get Beto Grassi, who is ahead in the 10th position.
Yeah, as we see the replay of the overtaking maneuver there, of course it's already dark, but from time to time we can see Piquet Jr.'s helmet design that is the same that was used by his father in Formula 1. And that's a shame because Roman Ginkiewicz had a difficult stint, so that compromised a bit the race of car number 80. But we all know how aggressive and fast and skilled Nelson Piquet Jr. is. And this situation is the perfect one for Enzo Elias and Marcel Miller. Marcel Miller must be very joyful in the garage there, seeing that these cars, they are losing time compared to the race leader, that is Enzo Elias.
And there we see how ahead is number 544 with Enzo Elias. Look at the difference to second and third place. The car he just overtake is a backmarker. So this is the battle for second. And there we saw number 544. So Alan Hellmeister is doing everything he can to overtake Ricardo Zonta. This is the battle of the race right now because they are very, very close. But on the inside, Alan Hellmeister, it might be this time. On the inside, Alan Hellmeister, he is not able to hold position. He went a little bit wild. He lost the position again to Ricardo Zonta. Wow, and they have a car ahead of them that's not battle for position, but might make a difference. Not really. The car just opened to them. I couldn't see which one was, but anyway, he's way behind. Wow, this battle for second position is great, Carlos. It's great. And we see a little bit behind Fefo Barrichello, who is still in the 4th position.
Yeah, which is good. Fefo has to have a solid stint there so that the situation for him and his brother will be good. But anyway, we see why Zonta has been, let's put it that way, praised by Rubens Barrichello. You see how wise he was. He knew that Hellmeister was a little bit too fast, to say this way, when he tried to overtake it. And then he was able to retake the lead position there ahead of Hellmeister. And one more back marker, that makes difference. But he didn't.
Oh, what did Hellmeister do? What a mistake by Hellmeister. Or not. I mean, he was trying to avoid the back marker, but he lost totally contact. And that's number 66 of Sadak Leite and Fabio Carboni. I don't know who is driving the car, but I don't know why he didn't go on the inside. Maybe
he was too fast.
He was too fast.
Yeah, I struggled a bit to commentate because I was waiting to see what would happen, and it seems he was too fast. That's why he got to the outside line there in order to avoid a crash. But it's in a way a driving mistake by Hellmeister there, but obviously it was prompted by the presence, the fact that he had the back marker ahead of him. So I was going to say that the back marker didn't have an impact on the fight, but it did. Unfortunately, a bad impact for Hellmeister that has now to close the gap once more, and Ricardo Zonta benefiting from what happened. Let's see if he will be able to stay ahead in terms of gap in a comfortable situation compared to Hellmeister. And so far, so good for Enzo Elias managing his advantage. And he has to focus on, of course, getting a good lap time, good lap times, lap by lap, consistency, but of course, saving tires and that kind of stuff, because there's still a lot of racing to come.
Yeah, the driver was Sadak Leite. I was able to identify him. I checked it here. Sadak Leite, who races with Fabio Carboni, but Sadak Leite he was on the car, is on the car, and he is a regular of the Porsche Cup Sprint Championship. He races in the Challenge Sport, so that's his class, Challenge Sport there. That's where he races. Look at Nelson Piquet Jr. Nelson Piquet Jr. gets the position from Nelson Marcondes. So it's P9 from Nelson Piquet Jr. We see Beto Grassi ahead of him. Beto Grassi is really fast as well, but Nelson Piquet is getting close.
It will be nice to see this battle because if we remember the first stint, Beto Gressi was leading and Piquet Jr., if I'm not wrong, he started 11th and was running 5th prior to the first pit stop. So both of them, they are in a very good pace, at least today. And it tends to be a very good fight. Just checking here the sport class, it is very interesting, the situation, the fight for the class win, Sergio.
Yes, it's the strongest class in the field. We have 13 cars from Carreira Sport. We have 6 main Carreira Cup, 13 Carreira Cup Sports class, 7 Carreira Cup Rookie class, and then we have a total of 26 cars in the Carreira Cup category. In the Sprint Challenge category, you have a total of 10 cars, being just 1 in the main challenge, Sprint Challenge, 2 in the Sport class, and 7 in the Rookie class. That's how the field is divided. We have yet another battle there. That's a battle between 139, which is being driven by Célio Brasil and Danilo Dirani. And look at Alan Hellmeister. Alan Hellmeister, it seems he's approaching, no, not really. I wonder, we'll have to wait a little bit more, Carlos, but I don't think he will get to number 8 of Ricardo Zonta before the next mandatory pit stop, which will be in 5 laps. I mean, in 5 laps, at lap 52, at the beginning of lap 52, we'll have the 8-minute window. So I'm not sure he's going to be able to get to Ricardo Zonta up to that moment.
Yeah, I was thinking about this as well, but one thing is a fact, he has a better pace compared to Zonta's because if you remember, he lost a lot of ground when he made that mistake approaching the back marker, and he's already quite close actually to Zonta. I don't know if close enough to attack in this 5 laps gap that you've mentioned. But anyway, a very good performance by Hellmeister so far. But that mistake and the fight, the lengthy fight, a very long one against Zonta, it in a way compromised their winning chances, because their chances of winning actually, because he lost a lot of time compared to Enzo Elias and Marcel Miller. So the situation in this moment is very positive, very good for Elias and Marcel Miller, even though we saw there Werner Bauer watching the race. But if anything happens, that situation can change immediately. But maybe with a safety car, a crash, a mistake, but it doesn't seem to be something likely to come from Elias or even Marcel Miller, but the situation is very good for them. It's interesting because prior to the first pit stop, it was very open. Prior to the second, actually, as well. And now we approach the next driver change, and we see that the situation is very favorable for Elias and Miller. Sergio.
Yes, we see there Enzo Elias. He leads way ahead. It's a very good position for Enzo Elias so far. He's doing a great race. He is last year's champion of the Porsche Cup Sprint Championship. This year he is racing in the Brazilian Stock Car Pro Series, as it is called. And we see again Alan Hellmeister trying to approach Ricardo Zonta. And I think Ricardo Zonta, in a way, is dealing better with the back markers than Alan Hellmeister, even though Alan Hellmeister slowly approaches, but he loses ground here and there. They might get to the pit stop closer than they are now, but I doubt they would. There will be an overtake, Carlos, because Alan Hellmeister tried for so long and he was.
Quando que a gente já vê uma cena como essa, né? Marcel Miller aqui, ó, torcendo pelo Enzo Elias, que tá liderando a prova. Meio inédito isso.
É inédito, primeira etapa da Endurance, fizemos um bom trabalho até aqui, conseguimos a pole position, estamos liderando a prova. A gente deu uma estratégia um pouquinho mais arriscada, agora eu vou estar com o pneu velho para o final. Mas vamos ver, torcer que não dê nenhum safety car, pro Enzo conseguir abrir uma boa vantagem agora e eu conseguir administrar no final e tentar essa vitória.
Como é que tá sendo acompanhar, liderando a corrida daqui?
Ah, tá muito bom, né? Aqui é muito mais tranquilo que lá dentro. mas depois o bicho pega no final.
Daqui a pouco a responsa é sua, né?
Verdade, vamos lá.
Boa, obrigada, Marçal. Aqui.
Yeah, we heard from Marcel Miller, teammate of Enzo Elias that is leading the race. Of course, they are rivals, but now joining forces in this Endurance Series Championship of 2023. And Marcel Miller was talking about the strategy. One important factor that he talked about is the tire situation, because in theory, you have a very degraded tire in the last stint that will come shortly. But anyway, the idea is to open a good gap with Enzo Elias now, and then he manages the advantage in the last stint with no tire. But anyway, tire degradation is initial for all of the drivers, and I am certain that Zonta and Hellmeister, they are also degrading their tires in this fight. And now Hellmeister approaching definitely, as we see that they are lapping car number 0 there, driven by Silvio Barros and Caio Collet. But anyway, an interesting input by Marcel Miller there, and we have to wait and see. He also mentioned the fact that they are expecting actually not to have the safety cars. We see the replay of the brake disc, sorry, there heating, but the safety car is not good for them, because then they will rejoin the pack, if we can say so. In this moment, Enzo Elias is way ahead, so a safety car definitely wouldn't be that good, as we see a lot of scenes of the braking disc quite hot there.
Yeah, the difference is almost 5 seconds from first to second place. That's the gap that Enzo Elias was able to build between him and Ricardo Zonta, who is now under pressure again from Alan Hellmeister. It shows clearly, Carlos, I would say that it was not a good moment for Alan Hellmeister when he was overtaken in the beginning of this segment by Ricardo Zonta, because he's faster than Zonta, definitely. I don't know if he would have the car to battle with Enzo Elias, but for sure he would be ahead of Zonta if he had stayed there. But Zonta was very clever. Zonta is a great driver, and we have just to congratulate Zonta for the very good work he's done, overtaking Alan Hellmeister in the beginning of this stint, and it's well deserved that he's in the second position right now.
Yeah, definitely. And apparently they will be close to each other, these cars, until the very end of the race. Let's see if there's any strategy gamble there with the overcut or the undercut. We saw that the overcut worked in the previous stint for some cars. And the nice thing is that we will have the regulars, if you can say so, battling against each other in the last stint. And there we see them, both Miguel Paludo and Werner Neugbauer, rivals in the Porsche Sprint Championship as well. So it will be a tight fight, until the very end of the race. And this top 3 will be very, very competitive. But apparently the situation is good for Enzo Elias. This battle, I insist, is very good for Elias and Marcel Miller.
There is another good battle there, Carlos. We don't have the image, but it's between Nelson Piquet Jr. and Beto Grassi for the 7th position. Nelson Piquet Jr. is right behind Beto Grassi. Of course, we are concentrating in this battle for 2nd position, which is more important, of course, due to the position, but that will be. And now we are going to go to the beginning of lap 52, so we'll start the 8-minute window for the last mandatory pit stop in this race, as Alan Hellmeister goes wild again, goes on the outside, not wild, he goes on the outside trying everything he can, and Silvio de Barros goes to the pits. He's going to be substituted by Caio Collet. So he's the first to hit the pit stops, and now we have yet again back markers there going and maybe interfering with this battle for 2nd position. They are not doing anything wrong. I mean, interfering in the good sense. They even open, but they, in a way, they change a little bit the lines and the approaches 2nd and 3rd place are having at this moment of the race.
Yeah, and as you said, it seems that Zonta is dealing a little bit better with the back markers. Hellmeister struggled in that incident that we saw earlier in the first leg of the Cena S's, but anyway, his space, sorry, is uh, very good compared to Zonta's, quite better, and even with the back markers, he's able to stay close, but I don't think it's a good business to lose time trying to overtake in this moment that we have the pit window open. But anyway, let's wait and see.
Yeah, it's number 88 of Jorge Frangulis and Cesar Ramos we saw going to the pits. And there we see number 85 of Pedro Boesel is with that Porsche number 85 at this moment. And there they do the opposite strategy. Enzo Elias goes to the pits and Alan Hellmeister stays outside. So I'm sure
It's
Alan
Zonta,
Hellmeister... Oi, sorry, Zonta.
Ele já tá pronto aqui, eu tô colada no box só pra ficar de olho e contar pra vocês. Ele falou que não vai me contar não.
Thank you, Carlos. But anyway, that's a different strategy for both of them. Let's see if Alan Hellmeister is able to accomplish what he wants or not. We are going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, but that's the different thing you can do in terms of strategy. Pit a little bit earlier to try the undercut. Let's see if Werner Neugbauer will be able to have a good stint. And the lap time of
Pneus novinhos aqui chegando no carro do Zonta e do Werner. Vão efetuar a troca sim.
That's Rubinho Barrichello. He's out of the race. If you're joining us now, his car was excluded from the race because not because of himself, but because of the other driver of the car, who is Franco Giaffoni. He gave a hit at Lucas Salles, took Lucas Salles out of the race, and the race director decided the punishment was to take the car number 3, Porsche number 3, out of the race. Not any of Rubens Barrichello doing, but he stays there active because his two sons are racing in the car number 111.
Yeah, and both Elias and apparently Hellmeister trying to do a Schumacher, if we can say so, but Hellmeister goes to the pits now. But when I say do a Schumacher, we saw Michael doing something like that a lot of times, extending the stint, doing flying lap times, and then gaining advantage when it comes to pit strategy, as we see the hug there between Rubens and Fefo, his younger kid.
Tá cansado, Fefo?
Um pouco. É uma emoção grande, assim, a gente tá na nossa estratégia, tá seguindo o nosso plano e infelizmente eu não tô conseguindo fazer o que eu gostaria, mas o Dudu tem ido muito bem e espero que nesse último stint a gente consiga fazer uma boa performance para tentar ganhar essa corrida.
Se cobra muito, né?
Muito, eu sou o meu maior cobrador, mas tô torcendo pelo Eduardo porque eu acho que a gente tem boas chances.
É isso. Seu pai tava aqui falando, falei pro Fefo devagar e com calma, mas você é exigente com você mesmo.
Baita orgulho na frente de todo mundo.
Pois é.
Baita orgulho.
Pois é. É isso, Fefo. E ainda tem muita corrida pela frente. Obrigada, Fefo.
Yeah, we saw there Rubens kissing Fefo, saying in front of everyone how proud he is of his kid, and Fefo is very demanding with himself. He said that he wasn't able to perform as he wanted in this stint. We remember that he struggled a bit against the front runners there, especially Zonta, Hellmeister, and then he lost a bit of time. But anyway, Fefo himself, he was praising Eduardo Barrichello's previous stint, and now Dudu goes back to the car. And let's wait and see. So far the situation is good. Maybe Fefo is over-demanding himself, but anyway, a top 5 there is very feasible, I would say, as race leader Marçal, actually Enzo Elias pits to give the car to Marçal Miller. Sergio.
Yeah, I would say definitely that Fefo Barrichello is being too hard on himself. He returned it first, but he was overtaken by 3 great drivers, by a regular driver, by Enzo Elias, who is
the reigning champ. Yes.
The reigning champ. He was overtaken by Ricardo Zonta and Alan Hellmeister, 2 very experienced drivers. Fefo is a young fellow. He's just starting his racing career. It's the first contact he has with a Porsche, competing, of course. I believe he had driven Porsches before, but not racing Porsches. So he was too harsh on himself. He said he's harsh on himself, but too much, I think. Not a reason. It was a very good performance, I would say.
But that's normal in drivers.
Yeah.
We see that in a lot of drivers, but I agree. And Fefo is, as you said, very young, has not a lot of experience with these cars, these racing Porsches, but 18 years old, starting his racing career, as you said, last year competing in Formula 4 Brazil, had good results, some podiums and so on, and now starting his international career racing in the United Arab Emirates Formula 4 Championship. So let's wait and see how his career develops, and he has a good teacher in his father and also his older brother. Eduardo Barrichello is a good driver, and we are seeing this today, a very good statement by Eduardo, and now he goes back to the track as Enzo Elias is greeted by his pit crew, his engineer there, Troy Sergio.
Yes, Enzo Elias did a great work indeed. We see number 74 returning to the track, Piero Cifali and Andrea Bragantini Jr., as the team prepares Miguel Paludo to return to the track. They seem in a rush right now. They, at this point, I would say they would have to have everything ready, but I don't know, Carlos. That might be, anyway, the right moment to do the calibration for the tires, to work on that.
Maybe they're just checking as well.
Yeah, it's all okay. Oh, they're taking Paludo out of the car. Or they're doing something, no. Something is going on.
Yeah, maybe something in terms of adjusting the position there inside the car, but it doesn't seem to be something that will impact their race.
Yeah, they're still under the 6 minutes, the 6 mandatory minutes of pit stop. So we are concentrating on Miguel Paludo's car as we are watching other cars leaving the pits. But the real battle, I would say, it's between cars 544 that has an advantage so far, a nice advantage. He went to the pits this time over 4 minutes ahead of second place. Then we have cars number 8 and number 7. And I would put there car number 111 as well, who is going to be driven by Dudu Barrichello and had a great stint. So let's wait and see what Dudu Barrichello was going to be able to do, as the car went fourth to the pits. It was fourth when it did go to the pits.
Yeah, anything can happen. We still have a lot of racing to come, 25 laps plus 1 at least. But anyway, crashes, safety cars, incidents, driving mistakes from the front runners, they can happen as well, even though we don't expect experienced drivers such as Miguel Paludo, Werner Neubauer, and even Marcel Miller to make any mistakes. Eduardo Barrichello, maybe, because he's also getting to know the car as he's doing FIFO, but so far a very good afternoon by Rubens Barrichello's older son. And now car number 7 rejoining the track. It is the capital moment of the race. Let's see how close to each other they will be, especially car 7 and car 8. Neubauer is already on the track.
This is Miguel Paludo returning to the track. We have to fare him against car number 8. Car number 8 went to the pits 1 lap before Miguel Paludo. So we have to wait and see. And there's car number 8, and there is Miguel Paludo. No, it's not me. Yeah, it's Miguel Paludo.
Side by side.
Right there, side by side. And car number 8. They come back exactly where they
tô aqui inclusive com o Alan Hellmeister no box do Paludo, que ficou meio tenso agora, ficou meio tenso.
Porque eu tava pronto para dar entrevista, você falou alguma coisa com o Paludo, eu já comecei a olhar a televisão. É assim, o último stint da corrida, a gente na disputa por ela. Mas a corrida tá muito boa pra gente na classificação não conseguiu o ritmo que a gente gostaria. Mas a corrida o carro começou a acender Mas o fato que a gente teve 2 toques aí, isso aí acaba sempre desalinhando, deixando o carro mais desequilibrado. E a gente tem uma característica que é muito legal para quem está assistindo, mas para quem está correndo, começa a escurecer, fica muito mais frio, muda o comportamento do carro. Eu passei para o Pablo para ele tentar acertar o carro já para o Paludo. Então vamos ver agora nas próximas voltas se a gente foi para o caminho certo ou errado.
Inclusive a calibragem dos pneus que vocês mexeram também.
É exatamente isso aí que a gente trabalhou para tentar adequar agora o frio.
É isso, a gente tá com luz aqui já também, Luke, já escureceu bem. Obrigada, Alan.
Eu que agradeço, obrigado.
Valeu. Com vocês aí.
Yeah, interesting review there with Alan Hellmeister, teammate of Miguel Paludo. He was highlighting the fact that the weather conditions and the light conditions, they have an impact. Of course, track temperature and even air temperature, they are lower than what we had in the beginning of the race. As we see 3 cars in the battle there, but anyway, he said that he was focusing in the final part of his stint in gathering data in order to give a good car to Miguel Paludo so that Miguel can attack Werner Neugbauer. And he was talking specifically about the tire pressure there. That's why we saw the pit crew managing the tire pressure in the moment that Miguel Paludo was still in the 6 minutes mandatory pit stop window there.
And we have there, it's actually Dudu Barrichello trying to overtake Alceu Feldman. He's able to overtake Feldman, so Dudu Barrichello gets the position. I believe this would be for the 4th position, but we have to wait and see. Right now we see Paludo in 9th, Alceu Feldman in 10th. Actually, it's Dudu Barrichello who just overtook Alceu Feldman, but I believe there might be some changes there because some cars have yet to go back to the track. And that's the leader of the race, or at least the virtual leader, who is Marcel Miller in the 544. He's doing a great race. And look, some damage to the car number 16. Not a good moment for Alan Kodair. Let's see what happened. Oh, that hurts, Carlos.
And apparently his fault because he crashed into the back of the car there. Yeah, let's see, because we can see that there is a loose bodywork there touching the rubber, so that may have an impact and cause a puncture. If not a puncture, certainly that's not good in terms of performance for the car. And that's interesting because I forgot to say that Alan Hallmeister mentioned the fact that they had 2 touches throughout the race, that of course they don't help in terms of the car balance, so that may have an impact as well in the fight for the 3rd spot. But that's it, the situation is this that we see in the screen right now. Miller ahead of Neugbauer, then Paludo, Eduardo Barrichello, that's not 5th in the car right now, and then Alceu Feldman joined by Guilherme Salas in car number 1.
Yeah, we have Marcel Miller leading the race. Werner Neugebauer is around 1.5 seconds behind him. And then Miguel Paludo lost a little bit of ground to Werner Neugebauer. He's in 3rd, but he's 4 seconds behind Werner Neugebauer. Still have to confirm this difference, but that's the difference I have in the live timing right now. So let's wait and see what's the situation when we actually see the cars, but apparently that's the difference. Look at that, Carlos, for the 1st position. Wow, Werner Neugebauer easily overtakes Marcel Miller, and the fact that Miguel Paludo is way behind. Miguel Paludo actually lost lots of time, and actually Werner Neugebauer is flying and he leads the race. Great work by Werner Neugebauer. It might have been, Carlos, with the question of tires that was explained by Enzo Elias, and look at what happened when Werner Neugebauer overtook Marcel Miller for the 1st position. That might have been the move of the race, Carlos.
Yeah, it seems to be the case. Let's see if Werner Neugebauer has a good tire situation as well, but the overtaking maneuver was done in the junction corner that we call, right before the main straight. I don't know if Marcel Miller made a mistake because he had a good gap, and even before we saw the battle, you were talking about the gap And I was going to highlight the fact that actually Werner got very close in no time, because if you remember, Werner got out of the track, back to the track, I mean, quite close to Miguel Paludo. Actually, Miguel Paludo got back to the track after Neugbauer, but they were side by side, and all of a sudden Paludo loses ground and Neugbauer reaches Marcel Miller now driving the car, but it seems that indeed it is the move of the race. Let's see if Miller will be able to react.
Yeah, I think Werner Neugbauer is fast, Carlos, because he left even. Of course, Miguel Paludo might have had a little bit of a problem, some issue, but Werner Neugbauer just took off from Paludo, and look, he's opening from Marcel Miller. He's already 2-3 car lengths from Marcel Miller, and he's fast. Last time for Werner Neugbauer was 1:36.886.
Não, o carro estava na área de apoio, e aí eu conversei com o Enzo, com o Marcel, eles falaram, bom, a disputa praticamente está perdida, né, mas eles vão conseguir voltar para a prova. Então, ficou lá todo esse tempo arrumando, e agora provavelmente eles vão voltar.
Yeah, just talking about the car that had an issue, but I think that's it, Sergio, because if you remember, Zonta, even when Hellmeister made that mistake, he didn't open a gap. What we can assume that the situation is that he was actually managing the tire degradation. That's the only explanation for such a different performance right now between Werner and Marcel Miller, because they are in a very similar level in terms of driving skills, but it seems indeed that Werner has a better car in this moment, and the only explanation is the tire degradation. But anyway, if that's the case, then something was in a way miscalculated, I would say, between Elias and Miller, because Elias was way ahead, more than 5 seconds ahead. So maybe the strategy with the overcut, if you remember, actually car number 544 was the last of the top 3 to pit. Maybe that was a mistake, but anyway, we'll only know what happened after the completion of the race. But it seems the situation is quite good for Werner Neugbauer to win in his race number 100 in this category. So let's see. But there's still a lot of race to come. 11 laps, anything can happen, safety car crashes. So it's still too early to celebrate.
Yes, but as you pointed, 37 years old, Werner Neugbauer, it's his race number 100. He pointed that in an interview to Renata in the beginning of the race. He's been already champion of the sprint championship, but he's never been a champion in the endurance championship. Ricardo Zonta, who races with him, was champion in the sprint, in the endurance champion. Ricardo Zonta never disputed the sprint championship, and Ricardo Zonta has, before this race, 20 races with 9 podiums, 3 victories, it might be his 4th, and 5 pole positions. As a duo, they have 9 races together with 4 podiums, 1 win already, and 4 pole positions. So it's a strong team there that we see, this team of Ricardo Zonta and Werner Neugbauer. And with a little bit over 10 laps to go, we might see them on the top of the stands.
Yeah, and as you said, they have been racing with each other for quite a while already, so they know their characteristics, how to drive side by side.
Vamos falar com ele então, Nelsinho Piquet. Você fez uma excelente stint. Agora o Roman tá aí na fase final, na reta final da corrida. Como que você orienta? Como é que você fica aqui do lado de fora torcendo?
É difícil, né? Obviamente, com um piloto semi-amador como Roma, é difícil botar ele no último stint. Ele deve estar muito nervoso, tá carregando a corrida nas costas dele, né? Então, o meu trabalho é tentar manter ele calmo. Eu falei para ele, esquece que a gente está em primeiro, esquece tudo, só foca em fazer volta após volta, como se fosse uma classificação, esquece tudo, foca no... Não pensa que a gente está em primeiro, não pensa que você pode fazer O Roma é um piloto rápido, o negócio é que ele fica muito agitado, ele vive no mundo da Ritalina, então a gente tem que aprender a acalmar ele, né? Então o negócio dele é que ele fica muito, ele é um piloto muito arrojado, e aí quando ele começa a ficar, não nervoso, mas ele começa a ficar ansioso, aí ele passa da freada, quer carregar muita velocidade na curva, que é uma qualidade boa. Então tem que tentar frear e acalmar ele um pouquinho. Então a gente está tentando, porque a gente está em primeiro agora, para ele ir com calma, só levar o carro até o final da corrida. Lógico que tem uns prós que estão andando agora, que vai ser difícil para ele, mas só quero que ele faça uma corrida normal e a gente vai ficar aí entre os 3 primeiros, se Deus quiser.
Obrigada, Nelsinho. Luque?
Yeah, nice interview there with Nelson Piquet Jr. He had a very good stint once more in this final period in the car, and he actually put car number 80 in the lead position of the sport class, which is quite remarkable because the first stint of Roman Ginkiewicz, that is back to the car, was quite difficult and he lost a bit of ground, but Nelson Piquet Jr. was able to put the car once more ahead of the pack in the sport class. And Nelson was asked about his tips to Roman in this last stint. That is, of course, quite difficult, a lot of responsibility. And of course, Roman, as said, Nelson is an amateur driver, so he doesn't have the experience that Nelson has, obviously, a former F1 driver, Formula E champion, and he was saying that he said to Roman not to think about winning the race or making anything special, just focusing on getting a good lap time, lap by lap, and then the consequence would be a good result, and that's Roman Ginkevich's focus. According to what Nelson Piquet Jr. said for us, Piquet also mentioned that Roman is fast, but he's sometimes too agitated. So his job is also to try to leave Roman Ginkiewicz calm to this last stint so that they can clinch this class win in the 300 kilometers race of Interlagos, as we see Zonta watching his teammate leading the race.
Yeah, Bernard Bauer was able to open an almost 3-second gap over Marcel Miller. Marcel Miller is in second, but Miguel Paludo is trying to get closer to him. The difference is getting smaller between Marcel Miller and Miguel Paludo, but still a difference. We see there Marcel Miller, and then we see Miguel Paludo, so it's not any small difference, but it was around 4 seconds. Now it's around 1 second and a half, 2 seconds, maybe 2 seconds and a half. So he's getting there. We don't know if there will be enough time, but situation looks very good anyway for car number 8. Dudu Barrichello is in 4th, is in the comfortable 4th. Then we have Alceu Feldman, and then we have Luis Razia. Actually, we saw the interview with Nelsinho Piquet, Carlos, but Roman Zinkiewicz was not able to hold the lead in the Carrera Sports class. This is now with Luis Razia and Nelson Marcondes with the Porsche number 199. So these guys are leading the race in the Carrera Cup Sports class. Then we have Diego Nunes and Peter Vetter, and then Roman Zinkiewicz and Nelson Piquet Jr. are in 3rd in their class.
Which is something that we could expect. Even Nelson mentioned that, because there are a lot of pro drivers now competing against Roman. The guys that are ahead of him now, they are former GP2 drivers. Just that.
Just that.
Yes, one of them almost racing Formula 1. He actually was signed to race in Formula 1. But he had a sponsorship issue and lost his seat. That is Luis Razia. So the level of the drivers is very different. Diego Nunes also racing GP2, a very famous driver in Brazil in the Stock Car Pro Series, also racing TCR South America this year. So it's very natural that Roman Ginkiewicz loses a bit of ground, which is sad for Nelson as well. But anyway, I believe that he will get a podium in the class.
It's lap 63 of 70. It's 300 kilometers of racing in Interlagos. This is the first round of the Porsche Endurance Challenge Brazil. C6 Bank Porsche Endurance Challenge Brazil. We will have 3 rounds this year. This is just the first round. Second round venue is still to be announced, but it will be 300 kilometers as well. But the last round will be 500 kilometers right here at Interlagos, where you're watching this race close to the end of the year. I believe it to be November, right, Carlos? Usually it's the beginning of December. I believe this year it will be in November.
I think so. I'll double check here. But last year we had the second round in the Argentine track that is Termas de Rio Hondo. So a good expectation for the announcement of the venue of this second round of the Endurance Series Championship that we have in Brazil. And that's it, beginning of actually middle of November, the final round of the Endurance Series Championship, the 500 kilometers of Interlagos, as you said.
Beautiful end of the day in Interlagos. Now the difference is a little bit, yeah, we have Werner Neugebauer now 5 seconds ahead of Marcel Miller, and the difference from Marcel Miller to Miguel Paludo is actually 3 seconds and a half. I said that at that moment it was 2 seconds and a half. It was a little bit more than that. Anyway, it's 3 seconds and a half, but last lap of Neugebauer was 1:37.404. Marcel Miller had 1:38.148, and Miguel Paludo was 1:37.733. So he got 4 tenths of a second. That's not enough. This difference to get to number 544 before the end of the race. But let's see what happens while Werner Neugebauer has a little bit problem with the back marker, but he doesn't lose that much. He has time to spare there. What he cannot do, Carlos, is to commit a mistake. That's what he cannot do. He can wait a little bit to overtake. He doesn't have to go in a rush. He's in a good situation overall, but he has to keep patient. If he keeps patient and nurture his car, he'll get to the end in first place.
Yeah, that's it. The gap between Neugebauer and Miller is too big in this moment, so just a driving mistake from Neugebauer will give a chance of win to Miller or a safety car, something like that, but it doesn't seem to be the case. And it's interesting, this night part of the race, because it's a little bit difficult to see the cars because of the lights, but when you see the angle of the side of the car, you can see how much the brake disc is heated in this moment. So always a red disc inside the wheel, which is very nice to see. And it seems that the situation is quite settled for Werner Neugebauer. So we have him ahead of Miller. Paludo trying to catch up, but a good gap already between Miller and Miguel. We have to praise Eduardo Barrichello and Fefo Barrichello, a very good result in their first race together in this Porsche Endurance Series. It seems that Feldman and Salas will get P5 and complete the podium of the main Carrera class of the Endurance Series in this season opener at Interlagos. The other drivers actually from the main Carrera class are Thiago Vivaco and Rodrigo Mello, but this driver duo is not getting a good result. And the sport class we have been talking about is quite interesting as well. In the rookie, so far good results for Edu Guedes and Renan Pizzi in the most democratic class, I would say, in the Carrera Cup Championship, but there is still time to come. Race to go, and then we talk about more results. Another spin there, sir.
Yeah, that was number 74 of Piero Cifali and Andrea Bragantini. That was the replay that we saw, but before we saw Porsche number 66 of Sadak Leite and Fabio Carboni going to the grass there and parking his car. The car is parked there, so it's end of the race for them. That's someone. There is the car number 66. So they park it there. It seems safe to me. Carlos, hopefully there's not going to be a safety car, but he's there waiting. He's close to the end of the race, and there we see Dudu Barrichello. The highlight for Dudu Barrichello. He's in the 4th position. Dudu Barrichello is 7 seconds behind Miguel Paludo. Miguel Paludo at this point is 3 seconds behind Marcel Miller. Still too much of a gap. He has around 6 laps to fill this gap. He's having better times than Marcel Miller, but not by that much. Last lap he got 3/10 of a second, so 6 laps is 1 point. It's not enough anyway for to fill the gap.
And there we see the leaders, the class leaders of the Sprint Challenge Championship. the only driver duo of the main sprint challenge class leading the whole pack of the championship. Car number 5, if I'm not wrong, of Gerson Campos and Marcelo Tomazoni. That's it. And interestingly, we have some good fights there for the second spot in the general sprint challenge championship, if you can say so, but drivers from the rookie class together with drivers of the sport class. That is a nice situation as well. And of course, we had some retirements, cars that won't complete the race, which is also very normal, especially in endurance races. And what an aerial view there, Sergio.
Oh, yes. Beautiful photograph there, I would say. Beautiful, nice end of the day in the city of São Paulo. As we said before, Interlagos, it's in the heart of the city. It was far away from the downtown. It's still far away from downtown, but the city grew too much. It's the biggest city in South America. It's a huge metropolis. It's by far the most developed city in Brazil. We could say that without a doubt. So it's very nice to have this racetrack there. It's something that should make everybody from São Paulo very proud, Carlos.
Yeah, definitely. And this track is already a classic in world motorsport, I would say, because of all the history that Brazil has in Formula One. Of course, we had for a time the Brazilian Grand Prix at Rio de Janeiro in the Jacarepaguá circuit that no longer exists. But anyway, this is the most important one. And nice to see such a thrilling race. Even though it's an endurance race, throughout the whole race we had fight for positions, overtaking maneuvers, incidents as well, but that's part of racing, of motorsport as a whole. And especially to have such a good event in an important time for Interlagos, completing 83 years, which is a lot. So the importance of this track is enormous for Brazil. Brazil, I would say culture, because we like racing a lot, but especially motorsport. And of course, we have to remember that Porsche Cup Brazil is completing 18 years in 2023. So a shared history between track and category, and so far a very interesting race. And it will be the case in the checkered flag as well, even though we have the winner decided already. But well, he has to bring the car home, as we say in motorsport.
Yeah, 2 laps to go. We have 2 hours and 19 minutes of racing. And we see there, number 8, commanding the show, Werner Neugebauer. Great work by himself and Ricardo Zonta. It will be their second victory together. So that's very nice. And I would say, Carlos, that it was a very good race. Of course, at the end, we had this advantage, but it was a surprise to me that Werner Neugebauer was able to get this, so far ahead of Marcel Miller. It looked like Marcel Miller and Enzo Elias were commanding the show, that everything was at their hand. They started in the pole position. They lost the first position right at the beginning of the race, but then they were able to recuperate and were ahead. But now, for the last lap, Werner Neugebauer will take car number 8 to the victory, Carlos.
Yeah, very nice. And destiny, fate is something funny sometimes. Getting this race win in the race number 100 for Werner Neugebauer in this Porsche Cup Brazil series. So it's very nice to see. We are getting close to 200 races at Interlagos. This is race number 198. And also we have to praise Ricardo Zonta, but anyway, they have to celebrate a lot. The series is getting also close to 450 races overall in its history. This one is race number 448. So a lot of history being made today, Sergio.
So Ricardo Zonta is already commemorating on the pits. He's waiting for Werner Neugebauer. Great work by car number 8, by Zonta and by Neugebauer. Neugebauer is an experienced driver. He competes in the regular Porsche Cup Championship. You can follow with us in English here all the races for the Porsche Cup Sprint Championship. And that's the final meters for Werner Neugebauer. There he is. He's going to get the checkered flag. Great work by them. He is going to get to the straight. It's going to be now. That's the entrance of the pits. And Werner Neugebauer gets the checkered flag. Win by Werner Neugebauer. Great work himself.
Luque, lembrando que é a centésima corrida dele, ele comentou que seria muito legal vencer na centésima corrida, né?
Enzo Elias and then Miguel Paludo and Alan Hellmeister will finish third, and Dudu Barrichello and Fefo Barrichello will finish fourth. That should be after all them cross the line, with Alceu Fedman and Gil Salas finishing in fourth, and Diego Nunes and Peter Ferter winning the Carrera Cup Sport class. Carlos, what a race, what an end of the race. It was in the middle of the afternoon. Now it's already the start of the evening in São Paulo. We are close to the winter here in Brazil. Not winter yet, but we are in autumn, so it gets darker earlier. And there is Zonta commemorating Carlos' well-deserved victory.
Definitely, very well deserved. A very good job done by both of them. You've mentioned that we are getting close to the winter. Cold night, beginning of evening in São Paulo. At São Paulo today, 16 degrees Celsius. So they have to celebrate in a very warm fashion there in order to hit themselves. But anyway, after such a thrilling race, a long race as well, so they have to have a very good effort there and also a good physical condition. They definitely will be very joyful after what happened in this 300 kilometers race at Interlagos. Zonta and Neugebauer, they deserve a lot. Already established driver duo in Porsche Cup Brazil. We have to highlight also the other winners, as we see Zonta chatting there with Franco Giaffoni. Peter Ferter and Diego Nunes in the sport class. Very good result. Diego Nunes actually interesting. He won the main Carrera class in the last round of the Endurance Series Championship last year alongside Christian Hahn, and now in the sport class winning alongside Peter Ferter. So Diego Nunes also a very accomplished driver. In the rookie class of the Carrera Cup Championship, we had the race win of it seems Galídio Osman and Paulo Souza. Galídio Osman also a Stock Car Pro Series driver in Brazil, so nice to see the level of competitiveness throughout the whole grid and in the different classes of the championships. And there we see the confirmation of the result. In a moment we will see also the winners of the Sprint Challenge Championship with the 991-2 cars, Carrera Cup Championship with the 992 cars. Anyway, very nice race. It was a pleasure to be broadcasting this for 3 hours already, because we didn't see time passing actually, Sergio, because it was indeed a very good race with overtakings. Of course, a level of competitiveness, that was very high throughout the whole classes, and a lot of action as we see the winners of the Sprint Challenge Championship, Marcelo Tomazzoni and Gerson Campos winning overall. And then we had Luiz Landi and Bruno Xavier winning in the sport class and the rookie class of the Sprint Challenge Championship. As we see the celebration he deserves, Werner Neugebauer will certainly be greeted by Ricardo Zonta in a moment. Sergio.
Yeah, that's Werner Neugebauer. You mentioned Diego Nunes that won last year's race. Carlos, with Christian Hahn, actually they are the current champions for the Carrera Cup Endurance. Actually, they are not racing together this year. We see there Ricardo Zonta. He is, very experienced driver, ex-F1 driver. A great show by 36 cars that started in the race, and pretty much almost all of them finished the race. I believe just 3 cars didn't finish the race, or maybe 4, considering 4 cars, because Felipe Giaffoni and Rubens Barrichello. Felipe Giaffoni, no, Franco Giaffoni, pardon me. Pardon, Felipe. Felipe is another driver, completely different. Franco Giaffoni and Rubens Barrichello were excluded due to the contact of Franco Giaffoni. I think Rubens Barrichello doesn't look a happy fellow. Carlos, we saw his image there. Of course, he must be happy with 4th place for his kids, but he's not happy with his own result to be excluded due to a mistake of his partner in driving.
Yeah, but he has to focus on the good side of the day. The performance that his kids actually they had was very, very good. Actually, their mothers also on the track, so a good Mother's Day gift from both Eduardo and Fernando. And of course, we have to remember that they are all sponsored by the same brand. Rubens, Franco, Felipe, Fernando, Eduardo, and the race winners in the general result, Zonta and Werner Neugbauer. So a good result for the sponsor, as we see there, Paulo Souza and Gali Osman also celebrating their win in the rookie class division. As we see replays of the race as well, a very action-packed race, but very good one. And I highlight it once more. It was 3 hours, but a good 3 hours of racing that we had today, Sergio.
Yes, I agree with you. It was very, very nice racing. I promised that it would be like that, and I'm glad we were able to be part of this show, Carlos. As we see the best moments, we'll have the podiums for the winners. Remember, although we don't talk that much about the Sprint Challenge class, there was the category.
Que belo trabalho que fez essa dupla aqui. Werner, a gente falou um pouquinho antes ali no grid da 100ª corrida, você falou, seria bom ganhar na 100ª corrida. Cara, parabéns, que demais.
Eu tinha esquecido disso, acabei de lembrar.
Ai, te lembrei.
Pô, é legal pra caramba, né?
Uma baita corrida desafiadora, com uma estratégia bem ajustadinha. Deixa eu contar uma coisa. Eu fui no box ali, quando vocês estavam questionando a questão do pneu. Falei, Werner, vai de pneu novo? Vou. Posso falar? Ele fez assim, ó, não. Falei, então tá bom, então a gente mostra no pitch ali a troca mesmo. Eu segurei um pouco essa informação. Mas foi isso que fez toda a diferença na estratégia de vocês, né?
Claro, a gente veio economizando o pneu a corrida inteira. E para botar um pneu bom no final e tentar botar um ritmo. O Zonta fez um baita de um trabalho. O Alan estava mais rápido, provavelmente com uma condição de pneu melhor do que a gente tinha. Ele conseguiu passar e segurou ainda. E me entregou numa posição que foi finalizar. Na verdade, quando eu saí do box, eu saí em terceiro ainda. E consegui passar o Miguel. Depois o Marçal saiu na minha frente. Eu consegui passar ele e colocar um ritmo para abrir e fazer o trabalho que eu tinha que fazer, né? Foi muito bom.
Cara, e a gente tava vendo ali, Zonta não tem mais pneu, cara. Como que é isso? Como foi administrar?
O último stint ali que eu tava guiando, que o Alan tava me pressionando bastante, teve várias vezes que cometi erro, porque o pneu tinha acabado, já tava escorregando muito. Então tinha horas que eu tinha que ter calma com o freio e tal, para não perder tempo, porque às vezes você escorrega, você perde mais tempo ainda, né? Mas deu para fazer o pace bem rápido, mantendo o pace ali na corrida de segundo lugar e entregar o carro, que ele estava com o jogo de pneu fresquinho para ele. Foi ótimo, ele fez um ótimo trabalho também. Na última stint ali, ele vinha classificando volta a volta, a gente teve que falar, cuida do carro, traz para casa que já tá na mão.
Parabéns, que belo início de campeonato. Agora vamos pro pódio comemorar. Parabéns. Luque.
Yeah, nice interview there with both Werner Neugbauer and Ricardo Zonta, and actually we got the explanation, Sergio, for the gap, for the different performance level between Werner and Marcel Miller in the last stint. Actually, Werner and Ricardo Zonta, they had saved a new set of fresh tires for the last stint, so that's why Ricardo Zonta was struggling so much in his intermediate stint, because he was saving the tires and actually fighting against Alan Hellmeister with a very degraded set of tires. So that was why they were able to get this race win. Of course, Werner Neugbauer had to overtake Miguel Paludo and Marcel Miller on track in the final actually stint, but he had a very good tire situation compared to Miller, for example. And we remember that Miller himself, he highlighted the fact that he would have to manage the advantage with older tires, but anyway, different strategies that paid off for Werner Neugbauer and Ricardo Zonta, and actually they are both very deserving of this race win because what they did was indeed very, very good. Sergio.
We see the podium now. This is Alan Hermeister. He was talking to number 1, the driver Alceu Feldman. Let's check. 5th place on our right side, on your right side on the screen. They are car number 1, Alceu Feldman and Guilherme Salas. Alceu Feldman's on your left. There is Ricardo Zonta complimenting everybody. They raised their trophy. Now we have 4th place, Dudu and Fefo Barrichello, the 2 brothers, Rubens Barrichello sons. Then Miguel Paludo and Alan Hellmeister. They are competing together this year. Then we have 2nd place, great work, the pole positions, Marçal Miller and Enzo Elias, and doing a great job at the end of the race. Carlos explained their tactics. They said that in the interview. We have Ricardo Zonta on your left side and Werner Neugebauer on your right side. These were the top 5 teams. We have a total of 6 main Carrera Cup drivers competing. 5 of these teams are there. Of course, this is a race for everybody, so a car from the Carrera Sport could have arrived, who could have finished ahead of them, but it didn't. So we really had the dominance of the Carrera Cup drivers. No major incident involving them. We've seen that before, so that's why I point this out, Carlos. It's very interesting that all 6 Carrera Cup drivers end up at the end of the race all there, and 5 of them in the top 5 position.
Yeah, that's something that we could expect. As you said, more experienced drivers, in theory the best driver duos, considering both of them. Of course, we had, for example, Rubens Barrichello, Nelson Piquet Jr. paired with drivers that aren't that experienced, so that's why you were in the sport class. Let's hear from Renata Diniz.
Olha, Gerson Campos, eu tava doida pra falar com ele. Eu não preciso nem perguntar pra quem você vai dedicar essa vitória, né?
Eu vou chorar pela 18ª vez hoje. Pietro, meu filho, agora eu vou fazer sem chorar. Te amo muito. Você fez o nosso dia começar ontem, dia 12. Nasceu hoje, 2h22 da manhã, e agora, 6 e pouco da tarde, você ganhou sua primeira vitória. Te amo. Amo você, seu irmão. A Natália, eu brinquei no meu vídeo da Porsche Cup apresentando a categoria que Racing is Life, né? Aquela brincadeira. Isso aqui é a segunda melhor coisa da vida, todo mundo sabe. A primeira tá em casa, mas isso aqui, unir as duas juntos é fantástico.
Parabéns, gente.
Obrigado, Renatinha. Obrigado aí todo mundo que apoiou e torceu. Valeu.
Parabéns, Marcelo. Felizão.
Parabéns pra esse cara aqui. Essa vitória aqui não seria possível sem ele, que é o cara que manja tudo da categoria, construiu tudo.
Vambora.
Isso pro pódio. Parabéns.
Yeah, we heard there from the Sprint Challenge general class winners, Gerson Campos and Marcelo Tomazoni. We explained the situation of Gerson in the beginning of broadcast, but anyway, his younger son was born 2 a.m. today, so of course he didn't sleep quite well. But anyway, as we pointed out in the beginning of the transmission, the happiness compensates the lack of sleep, and there they are in the first spot of the podium, deserving this race win, as did, for example, Ricardo Zonta and Werner Neugebauer. Also, Marcelo Tomazoni has to be praised, a good teacher, if we can say so, for Gerson Campos, the only driver duo actually of the main sprint challenge class. And we have the general podium for the championship as a whole. Then we will have the winners and the podium drivers for the sport class and the rookie class.
Exactly, Carlos. Bruno Xavier and Luiz Landi were 2nd place. They got 2nd place in the challenge. They were from the challenge rookie class. Then Danilo Dirani and Célio Brasil got a nice 3rd place. Célio Brasil, you remember, Carlos, he had a problem yesterday in qualifying. He didn't even had a fast lap, had an accident. And then behind them we had Sang Ho Kim, Sang Ho Kim is from the Carrera. William Freire and Francisco Horta, also from the Carrera. Then we had Fábio Carboni and Sadak Leite, and Pietro Rimbano and Bertuccelli. So Bertuccelli got the 4th place in the challenge race. Great work by Bertuccelli in the car number 44, Giuliano Bertuccelli, who got second earlier today in the sprint trophy, a school category that Porsche Brazil has, Carlos.
Yeah, nice to see also this Porsche Sprint Trophy drivers getting good results in the Sprint Challenge Endurance race at Interlagos today, especially Giuliano Bertuccelli, but Matheus Rocchi was also racing alongside Paulo Totaro. Paulo Totaro returning to Porsche Brazil Racing, as we explained in the beginning of the broadcast, had a very strong accident actually in the beginning of the pre-season testing of last year. And of course didn't race until this very event that we had at Interlagos, and his return itself is already a victory for both Paulo and Matheus Rocchi. Matheus, that was one of the drivers that helped Paulo Totaro in the rescue in the beginning of the 2022 season, as we see replaced of the night, the afternoon, the day as a whole. So
Exactly. Great afternoon, Ricardo Zonta and Werner Neugbauer, pardon me, the big winners of the 300 kilometers of São Paulo. Great work by them, great racing we had, as it always happens in Interlagos. There we see Porsche number 7 ahead of number 8, as we have yet another podium, Carlos. This is the podium, I believe, for the
Sport
Carrera
class.
Cup Sport Class. Exactly. The Carrera Sport Class that was won by Diego Nunes and Peter Ferter. Now we see Nelsinho Piquet and Roman Zinkevich raising their trophies. In second place, we had Ricardo Mauricio and Eamon Darwich. Ricardo Mauricio on the left side. Second place, Luis Razia and Nelson Marcondes. And then first place for Diego Nunes and Peter Ferter. Great work by these two. Great win by Peter Ferter and Luis Razia. I didn't mention, but Miguel Pires and Beto Grassi got fourth place, and Nelson Monteiro and Nicolas Costa finished in fifth. So these are the 5 teams that won the Carrera Cup Sports class. As we mentioned, the strongest class in the field, with 13 out of the 36 cars entering the track being from the Carrera Cup Sports class.
And a very nice podium as well. 2 former GP2 drivers, a former Formula 1 driver and Formula E champion, a 3-time Stock Car Pro Series champion, and also Nicolas Costa, that comes from the Endurance Series Championship, has his roots actually in Porsche Brazil with the endurance racing, and now is racing also in the Sprint Championship, doing a very good job, by the way. So very competitive podium as well in the sport class division, as you said, the division with a lot of cars in this event, more than all of the others, and that one was very tight and very deserving also race win for Diego Nunes and Peter Ferter.
And Carlos, we don't have the points yet, it's not official, so we don't have this information to say, but I would say we start the year with a very tight battle for the championship, because Miguel Paludo and Alan Hellmeister finished first the first segment, then they end up third overall at the end of the race. Marçal Miller and Enzo Elias were second, both in the first segment and then in the end of the race. And Werner Neugbauer and Ricardo Zonta, I quite don't remember, to tell you the truth, where they finished the first segment, but for sure finishing first and 60% of the points being awarded for the final result of the race. They are in very good position. So these 3 teams must be very close there in the battle for the championship, as we still have 2 more races to go.
Yeah, and Neugbauer and Zonta, actually, they were 4th in the first stage. So, as you said, the championship situation will certainly be very interesting because of the points awarded in the first segment. So, it will be nice to see how the battle unfolds until the very end of the championship. The season finale will be once more at Interlagos 500 kilometers race in mid-November, as you see the podium of the trophy, the rookie class actually, of Porsche Carrera Cup Championship.
Exactly. In the rookie class, the winners were, let me double check here, were
Galídio Osman and Paulo Souza.
Galídio Osman, Paulo Souza, exactly. Then Edu Guedes and Renan Pizzi in second. Then Bruno Xavier and Luiz Landi in third. Danilo Dirani and Célio Brasil in fourth. And Sang Roquim and Nelson Abultaif in fifth. So that was the final result there. Actually, not because
Tô sim, Luke. Tô com uma dupla muito especial. Eu desci pra vir falar com eles aqui. Fefo e Dudu. Queria que vocês comentassem essa estreia aqui na Porsche Cup juntos. Como que foi essa experiência, Dudu?
Bom, foi uma experiência muito legal. Primeiramente, agradecer a Marte por nos proporcionar, né, essa oportunidade de poder correr junto com o meu irmão, junto com meu pai, com meu tio. Enfim, a gente estava entre família aqui. Fim de semana foi muito legal de poder ver a evolução do meu irmão, a minha evolução também, a gente que nunca tinha andado no carro. Mas muito orgulhoso do meu irmão pela evolução dele durante o fim de semana inteiro. Ele não conhece o carro de teto, né? Ele está acostumado a andar com os carros de Fórmula, então fico muito orgulhoso de ver a evolução que ele teve, né? Ele é muito aguerrido também, então ele evolui muito, ele realmente abaixou muito a cabeça e aprendeu muito com as pessoas que ele tinha que aprender. E é isso, eu fico muito feliz com a evolução dele. É lógico que a gente está aqui para ganhar, mas como primeira corrida, acho que um quarto tá legal. Eu achei talvez que fosse dar um terceiro, mas é isso, eu estou satisfeito, levando o troféu para casa. Queria dedicar esse troféu para minha mãe. Ontem foi aniversário dela, amanhã é dia das mães, então, mãe, eu te amo, isso aqui é por você.
Isso, Fefo. Apesar de todo o esforço, de você se cobrar tanto, valeu a pena, né?
Acho que valeu. A gente se cobra porque a gente é irmão, a gente... Querendo ou não, quando você está correndo em dupla, você quer dar esse resultado para sua dupla também. Então, a gente se cobra por querer estar sempre no nosso limite e poder proporcionar isso para nossa dupla. Então, eu fico chateado de não poder dar um passo a mais, mas querendo ou não, não tenho experiência, nunca tinha andado com carro fechado, então foi uma primeira vez para mim. Então, eu tô feliz, tenho que agradecer a Marte que comprou essa nossa ideia e estou muito feliz de poder estar aqui com essa oportunidade de verdade e na corrida com meu irmão. Então, foi uma experiência muito legal, logicamente que a gente quer ganhar, mas a gente vai em busca desse campeonato.
É isso, maduros demais esses meninos, viu, Luke, Thiago? É isso, parabéns com vocês aí.
Yeah, we heard there from Eduardo Barrichello first, and then Fefo Barrichello. Eduardo is the older one, and he highlighted the fact that they learned a lot throughout the whole weekend. They didn't have contact with this car previously. Eduardo also highlighted the fact that Fefo is currently racing in Formulas, which is a very different kind of racing compared to Porsches, and highlighted the fact that his brother learned a lot. And even though they were there to win the race, they had a good result considering the fact that they didn't had any contact with the car before this round. And also an interesting information there. Their mother was celebrating her birthday yesterday, and tomorrow Mother's Day, so a podium as a gift from both of the Barrichello brothers. Fernando also talking about how much he wanted to perform in order also to give a good result for his older brother. A bit harsh with himself, as we said earlier today, but he said that after all he's happy with the results, and they thanked Marte, that is the sponsor that backed their idea to race together, and they also were able to race close to their father, Rubens, and also their uncle, Franco Giaffoni.
We saw one more podium there for the challenge sport. As we see again some images of the race, Paulo Souza and Gali Osman raced in this car number 25. They had a great race as well. Number 9 was driven by Edu Guedes and Renan Pizzi. Some nice images there, Carlos, of some cars of the challenge. I don't know about this. Let's see. Yeah, but because we're seeing the podium for the challenge race.
And now it is the sport class of the sprint challenge championship. Is that right? Or the rookie class?
Yeah, I think it's the rookie class. This is the rookie class. The one before was the challenge, because the main challenge we saw right at the beginning. Remember, right after the podium for Carrera Cup, we had the podium overall for Challenge, and now is the rookie class for Challenge. So this should be the last podium of the night that we are seeing. We don't know yet when it's going to be the next endurance race, but stay tuned with us that we'll be following here. The next race will be sprint race June 3rd and 4th, so be sure to mark on your calendar June 3rd and 4th. It's less than a month from now. We'll have the sprint races, 2 sprint races for each sprint challenge and sprint challenge and Carrera Cup. It's 2 races per weekend, so that's always a good show, Carlos, and we'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely. Always interesting, these races that we have in Porsche Cup Brazil. As you said, in no time we'll have another round, this time the sprint championship round at Goiânia, and a very traditional track as well. Usually provides good races, and with Porsche Brazil, actually, we don't have to depend on the tracks, because these guys, they always bring us entertainment throughout the whole grid in both of the championships and also their classes, Sergio.
And that's it. Thank you all very much for being with us in this Saturday afternoon, or if you watch it later, thank you very much indeed, and be sure to follow Porsche Cup Brazil. Thank you and see you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.